worthy. Whoa, whoa. If you wonder what to call me, if you're finding that the words are falling short, if you wonder what to call me, if you wonder what to call me, you can call me king. You can call me king of the world. You can call me king. You can call me king of the world. Everybody's gonna see. Bow down, bow down. This is my destiny, destiny. Here comes a king. Everybody's gonna see. Bow down, bow down. This is my destiny, destiny. Here comes a king. You can call me king. You can call me king of the world. You can call me king. You can call me king of the world. You can call me king. You can call me king of the world. You can call me king. You can call me king of the world. You can call me king. You could call me king. You could call me king. Woke up in the back seat, all alone 'cause the girl is gone. Whiskey in my coffee, it feels right, so it can't be wrong. I'll take another. Ooh, it seems like a mother. Keep the feeling. Ooh, I'm gonna take what they're dealing. I always go too far. Feel the thrill and the danger. I'm trouble, oh, I'm a whole lot of trouble. I'm trouble, oh, I bet it all on the devil. You know I'm trouble, you know I'm trouble. Ho! They'll say that you're reckless when you live like a renegade. They'll say that it's hopeless, that you're gone and you can't be saved. What do they know? Ooh, I ain't afraid just to let go. Keep the feeling. Ooh, you never know what I'm stealing. I always go too far. Feel the thrill and the danger. I'm trouble, oh, I'm a whole lot of trouble. I'm trouble, oh, I bet it all on the devil. You know I'm trouble, you know I'm trouble. Huh. Hey. trouble, trouble. Trouble. Feel the thrill and the danger. It's not a myth, like we've been told. This life we live can be our own. There's more to gain than battle scars. It's time to make forever ours. Make it ours. We are living legends. We'll see our stories written in every constellation. We are living legends. We are living legends. We are living legends. It's not enough that history will remember us. We'll rise above, nothing to gain if we don't try. We will be heroes of our time, of our time. We are living legends. We'll see our stories written in every constellation. We are living legends. We are living legends. We are living legends. Sights above the stars, 'cause that's right where we belong. Set your sights above the stars. We were meant to play this part. We are living legends. We'll see our stories written in every constellation. We are living legends. We are living legends. We are living legends. We are living legends. We'll see our stories written in every constellation. We are living legends. We are living legends. We are living legends.
Be careful when you share.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Valanth League stream. I'm your host, Valanth, and today we have a great Hextech Cup matchup. These Slow Bros, they are topping Group A right now. I believe only 3 losses to their name, whereas on the other side we have 1 in 5 who, if you take away forfeits, they technically only have 3 losses to their name too. I'm Byron, and joining me is my man, Last. Last, how are you doing today, and how are you feeling about the matchup?
I am doing well. This is definitely going to be an exciting matchup, seeing as these teams are definitely hand in hand when it comes to laners. They're extremely equal in most lanes. Of course, they each have their weakest links, but it's definitely going to be an all-out battle throughout the entire game, and I hope we get to 50 minutes because this is going to be a fun one.
Yeah, it certainly will be. The Slow Bros, they have had great success in Group A, and whilst people have been kind of discarding Group B, Div 2 and all that, Group A is supposed to be the strongest group around with the strongest teams. So to see the Slow Bros top it, that is a testament to their strength as a team.
Yeah, definitely both teams definitely showing their strengths with Group A. They're definitely slogging it out throughout the entire season. I do believe that Slowbros did end off the regular season for Valanth League as #1, and because of the 5 forfeits, 1 in 5 did end off in 7th place, but they definitely could have gone higher if it wasn't for some unfortunate mishaps on their side of things. We do jump into Champ Select here. We are seeing the Van and Ari bans right out of the gate.
Alright, Ben, I feel targeted myself, but one thing that we want to note here is that a lot of people say that against the Slow Bros, you want to target the mid lane. Valanth is, in a lot of people's opinion, not an incredibly strong mid laner. So banning away stuff like the RA means that Valanth is going to have a little bit of an easier time in that mid lane. As if they can hold there, I feel like they have the confidence to take over the side lanes.
Speaking of lanes, I definitely want to look into this bot lane matchup. CE and Duragai are known as one of the most impossibly hard to beat bot lane duos in Valanth League. Their synergy is amazing, and Duragai especially does have that late game scaling on his mechanics, and C is really good with most hook champions as well as basically all support champions. What do you feel like you want to see in this bot lane match in terms of jungle and the mid lane?
So in terms of the whole match, I mean, if there are certain picks that I want to look at, last time I saw it in finals, I remember having a good game on Sivir, and I think that is the best pick into Duragai and C7. I think they are a kind of duo that can be very lane dominant. So looking in the Sivir, pushing them in, keeping them in their tower, and kind of restricting what that bot lane can do, at least for the early few minutes of the game, that's a great idea. I think the Sivir is a fantastic pickup. Jarvan's great too, allows you to gank up the lanes. If the Slow Bros do end up start to overextend in the early game, you can really take advantage of that as Jarvan when you're going to be applying a lot of pressure around. However, it kind of forces them to take away the Galio because the Jarvan Galio combo is known to be one of the deadliest in the game.
So flex picks definitely coming out from both sides here. The Galio can go mid lane, but of course that's not as common nowadays. It does usually go into the bot lane, which pairs extremely well into the Kai'Sa because of her passive and the peel that it does provide. The Jarvan also can be going top lane or jungle. Of course, it's also more common to see in jungle, but the Aerie that you can take in top lane does really well against most bad matchups. And like you were saying, that is the Sivir picked up for Infires, which can be really good into the Galio combo, but also kind of bad because depending on what you spell shield first, it can just lead to you're getting CC'd no matter what, sort of like a Rakan ulti W engage. But yeah, the Sivir is really good. What do you feel like it should be paired up with otherwise?
With the Sivir, I feel like if you put that with something that has a lot of, I think so maybe something like Alistair. I think Alistair's a great pick into the Galio. I think they kind of have a similar job, but Alistair can have that extra little peel alongside that. But you can go with something, even a Brom would be very nice. Sivir just has a lot of CC, can kind of play that role, and or alternatively, you can go for something like a Zyra. That's the beauty of Sivir. She can play with so many supports. So it's really down to what THP wants to play. I would personally look for the more tanky options, but you can go the mages as Poppy. Built in, very good disengage champion. I'm surprised you're blind picking the Poppy though, when you really want that Jarvan flex potential, and they haven't looked in the top laner. That surprises me as a pick. However, Valanth, if there's one pick I know him for, it is the Orianna.
Yeah, this is definitely interesting with the picks here, seeing as the Poppy actually can be going into support to try and counter that Galio Justice Punch, but of course it's more likely to be going a blind pick top lane because she is an extremely safe tank that is really good into most matchups, especially if they have a dash, and especially if there's some sort of bruiser that builds a lot of HP, or her ground slam does do percent HP damage, so that's really good. Like you were saying, TSB does ban out the Braum, which is really good into the Sivir. Because of Sivir's self-peel with her spell shield, it can be, like you said, can pair up with God knows what, like a Brand or a Zyra or something that does a lot more damage. But yeah, they're banning out the Katarina as well for Spooky Marley. I did not know he plays that, but definitely an interesting targeted ban. The Vi is also banned, so that's sort of stopping the dive. But the Jarvan and the Poppy is sort of an interesting anti-dive comp because the Poppy can just stand in the front line and block any dashes into the back line, while the Jarvan can jump into the enemy's back line and hopefully stop the Orianna from doing too much damage.
Yeah, here's some more tools in the team fight, whether or not they want to engage, disengage. Now, usually people play a lot more one-note compositions that know exactly what they want to do. For example, the Sovos have already locked in for themselves. They already have pretty much a win condition. Mid-game fights for this team are going to be great. Hecarim and Galio going in engaging with an Orianna shotwave to back that up. Plus, a Kai'Sa is probably going to be about 2 items at that point. You're looking at some fantastic 20-25 minute fights that I think we need to keep our eyes on for Solos. That's exactly what that's spiking. However, Xerath being locked in indicates, okay, we're going to say, oh, you want to fight mid-game? Well, guess what? We're just going to scale it out. We're going to let you be, and then late game cometh, we will stomp. Because
So
with that Xerath, with the Sivir, with the Zilean, I'm looking at an incredibly good scaling composition on the side of 1 and 5.
So that is the confirmed Poppy top, as the Zilean is most definitely going into that support role with the Sivir, which can be really good into those late game fights. And the more and more I see TSB picking these things, I really like, or picking the champions, excuse me, I really like the Poppy pick here because it does prevent that dive that they are looking to do. We can see the Jax coming out, so that is the Hecarim jungle, the Jax top, and the Orianna mid. So the Galio will definitely be going to that bot lane. The Poppy is really good here because it does prevent most dive. The Hecarim ult, excuse me, is really good with since it is unstoppable against Poppy, which she can stop her dashes. So a lot of anti dive, but also a lot of dive coming out from both sides. So this is definitely going to be a skirmish comp, I'm guessing. Try and get some picks out with the Orianna ulti and the Hecarim ulti. But otherwise, it's just going to be a scaling slugfest. And hopefully, Commodore can try and get some sort of lead against this Jax. Otherwise, it's just going to be a snowbally top lane. And probably even a snowbally bot lane if they try and do anything early. Because that Zilean is not going to do much until around 30 minutes when you start getting into those late game team fights.
You see, the thing is, Sivir Zilean are actually an incredibly synergistic bot lane. This surprised me when I eventually saw it, but because of the added movement speed from Zilean's E and the fact that you can kind of combo the poke together, if you can stun some people with double stun and then get all the ricochets going down, it can be a lot of damage. Plus, the wave control that a Sivir and a Zilean give you just means that there's no way that this Kai'Sa is going to be able to push into a Sivir Zilean. It's just not going to happen. They are an incredibly strong bot lane duo. However, like you said, Zilean isn't huge in the early game. We're looking for him to hit about 20-25 minutes. When those mid-game fights start to happen, he's going to be one coming in clips with the revives in his ultimate.
Yeah, I definitely want to see some sort of level 2 engage by the Kai'Sa and the Galio to try and get some sort of snowball lead. Because of the latest Kai'Sa build going with the Storm Razor, you sort of do have to start with that Dorn's Blade to get those early evolves, otherwise it's not really worth going to Storm Razor. So hopefully we can get some sort of punish from the Sivir there with spamming Qs and ricochets and, like you said, the double stun. Otherwise, it's not really going to be much other than farming and getting pushed in for the Sivir. But it can be rather hard to try and push in a Sivir because of those ricochets and that boomerang blade. But I think in this matchup, they are going to be looking to get pushed in because the Galio is mostly useless if he does just sit in the middle of the lane. But because of that, it does lead to roaming potential, and especially with the Hecarim, like I said, they have a lot of dive, and the Xerath's extremely, extremely immobile. So I can see a lot of stuff happening depending on this bot lane matchup, impacting the rest of the game entirely.
See, I quite like 1 in 5 I drafted, I'll be honest. I think I favour it above the Slow Bros, but I think it's about 1 in 5's competition. It's a little bit harder to execute because you have several different win conditions, really. You can look to get Jarvan pressure early, try and ease off some players from getting those early leads. If you see Kuki starting to get a few kills topside, you can get a little trip up there, try and slow him down. Little things like that is very important for the Jarvan. And I think that allows members like the Xerath, like the Poppy, to just sit there and scale up and kind of be happy about it. The only issue is picking an early priority jungler like this in a scaling composition means that he's a little bit disjointed compared to the rest of his composition as to where he spikes. So it's up to Mormon to make the plays early game when he knows that he's going to be the one who has to make them.
Yeah, I'm not exactly 100% happy with this Jax pick here because of the Hecarim. Depending on if he does go Conqueror or Predator, he has a lot of different play styles. Because of that Conqueror, you do go for those extended mid-game skirmishes, but if you go Predator, you can get a lot more early game pressure. And with the Jax, if he does go Predator on the Hecarim, the Jax might not be that great because they're going to try and end before 30 minutes before the Sivir and Xerath can start chunking people. Um, but if he does go the Conquer, it's Hecarim does do quite a bit of damage, especially with that onslaught of shadows diving into the backline. And the Conquer does allow him to heal a lot with his W. But other than that, we do see that the Hecarim is going Ghost, so hopefully he goes for the Predator. Yeah, like I said, I'm not really sure about this Jax pick.
Yeah, it's I mean, to be fair, Pookie is an incredibly strong top lane. I think he is one of the best in the league. So I think locking that in. I mean, you saw the Poppy looking. So Jax into Poppy. It's a pretty nice matchup for Jax. You can sit there, farm up and take over the side lane. It's going to get to the point where Poppy can't really contest you. So I quite like the pick in theory. But the problem is that with the rest of the competition wanting to fight mid game, and then you picking a split push champion who's not going to be in the fights, it kind of goes against what the Soberos really want to do. In that, if they want to make the mid game fights happen, then why'd they pick the Jax and are going to sit there and scaling? Like Commodore has been a much better pick in my opinion because he's able to if he just needs to go into those mid game fights, he can be so useful at just deflecting engages and being able to peel for his team that extra little bit to be able to make those engages happen. Whereas with a Jax, he will be just sitting and controlling the side wave. Whilst that could be very useful, I think if 1 in 5 do overextend in a bad fight and they end up going down and Jack's on the side lane, they're going to get so much more rewards than if it was just 5 people down there. But at the same time, if it goes badly, Kuki's just nowhere there, nowhere near to just be able to help them out there.
Yeah, looking at the summoner spells here and the runes, we do see that the Hecarim is going for Ghost as well as Conquer, which can be well paired into those extended mid-game fights where you just go in and constantly heal because of those Rampage stacks and the Conquer stacks. We do see that the Orianna is going Teleport, so she's going to be trying to get more pressure in lane. The Jax is also going Teleport, that's pretty normal, so hopefully we get to see him do some more flanks or some team fight TPs. But other than that, I really want to see a lot of mid-game skirmishing. Hopefully, try and get the Jax ahead so he can snowball on that Poppy. Because if Poppy gets any sort of lead, she usually just takes over a lane. Especially with this late-game scaling Jax top lane, it might just be the end depending on this jungle priority and pressure. And which is because that's really interesting because they also do want to focus on the bot lane. So the Hecarim definitely has his job cut out for him.
Yeah, anyways, let's quickly introduce the teams. On the blue side, we have a 1 in 5 Commodore 2000 in the top lane on Poppy, Momorin is in the jungle, Spooky Marley in the mid lane in Fires, and THB 100 will be that bot lane. You want to take the other team?
No, you go ahead.
Oh, alright, fair enough. I guess Lobos too. Okay, so TSB Kuki in the top side. We have Dragos in the jungle. Rafante will be going mid lane. Duragai and C7 will be their bot lane. Oh,
we are seeing some action here.
But it is going to take him down. Oh, that's an unfortunate flash and first, but already going over to Duragai. Great level 1 and great scouting by them.
This is what I was talking about, trying to get that early lead in the bot lane, especially now that Zilean does have the flash off. The Galio can be trying to look for those level 2 plays, and hopefully Infires and THB try and play this lane a bit safer now that the Kai'Sa does have that extra gold for the longsword. Sadly, the Jax did not pick any extra gold up, but now the Hecarim can try and focus more on the top lane, try and snowball that, and that's just massive for TSB.
Yeah, it is huge. And getting a Kai'Sa an early kill means that she will be able to hit her spikes that a little bit faster. And that is so important for this champion. Getting those evolves down, getting the scaling, getting to that mid-game point that I talked about, those 2 items, that is where she starts to come online as a champion and when she can really start hitting a lot of those big item spikes. I was expecting Civilization to have a lot of priority, and I think they still will. But getting that early kill, getting the Yoda a little bit of gold on Duragai after that first pack, he'll be able to go back a little bit earlier, be a little bit more content with doing that, and get that extra little bit of gold.
We are seeing a pause here. This is due in part to TSB. No, excuse me. It is TSB. Their mid laner does have some ping problems. But one thing I do want to talk about right now is some AP supports that are going aftershocks, such as Lux. And I have seen a bit on the Zilean, but he has decided to go for the Arcane Comet, so he does want to poke out the TSB bot lane. But the Aftershock might have actually been good here since they do have reliable frontline, but the Zillion after that late game mark, he does do a bit of damage, but not really enough to justify building full AP, especially as a support. And really, all you're going to be doing is sitting back and ulting the Sivir. So I'm not entirely sure what they're going to be going for, but I think Aftershock would have been a very fun and good choice here.
I mean, I would prefer the Gary if you were to put me now. I think it's a great pickup, really. But the comment shows that they want to have a little bit more of that poke presence in lane. Kai'Sa Galio, I mean, Kai'Sa not the longest range AD carry, and Galio is a melee range champion. So if they do try and step up at the wave and you are able to get those comment procs off with a double stun, that can do that extra little bit of damage you might need to really get the poke down and force the guy and C7 away from the wave.
Yeah, like you were saying, the Kai'Sa doesn't exactly have the highest range, but she does have those trade combos with her auto onto a Q, especially if you get an isolated Q damage, that can be a very good trade. But the Sivir also has that extremely high base damage on her boomerang blade, so getting an auto onto a double hit of the Q can also be a very good trade. And because of that extra range that you do have on the Sivir, I was going to be saying that they want to look for a bit more pressure in lane, trying to stop Durgai from pushing them in, or pushing them too hard, excuse me. They do want to sort of get pushed in. But other than that, they can't really do anything because Durgai does have that lead now.
Yeah, and you see how confident C7 and Durgai are in this lane. As top lane, a lot of damage coming down from this Jax. Commodore does need to be careful. Oh, but Cookie! Oh, maybe you were the one who needs to be careful, my friend. The kill goes over to Commodore, and a lot of early kills this game, and I'm liking what I'm seeing.
The Jax was still level 1. I don't believe he had that auto reset up. He was looking greedy for the auto reset, but because of that level 1, he couldn't really do anything there. But he did start the counter strike, so he didn't even have the W up, which could have been enough to give him that kill there. But yeah, that's, like I said, the Poppy can be a massive snowball if she does get quite ahead, especially against these late game scalers.
And look at the damage that Commodore's able to output as his Poppy. Has so much damage threatening fires. Gonna get some mana off of that one, but Durgai and C7 did a great job at just forcing the all-ins onto Sivir and Zillion. You know that they're not the best in those. You ideally in fires and THP just want to be able to free hit and poke Durgai and C7, but they recognize as soon as they step up to do that, we can just go in on them, and they're playing that very well. It's not how I expected lane to go, and realistically they should be punished for it a little bit more, but they're doing a fine job right now. And look at C7, he's just stepping up. Like, they can't do anything about that.
Yeah, C7 applying a lot of pressure. THP's definitely #1 priority right now is to poke down the laners because the Sivir can't really do much. They are getting pushed in extremely well here by Durgai, who is applying a lot of pressure because of that that pressure that he does have in lane. But the 1 in 5 bot side doesn't really seem to know what they really want to do in terms of lane here. They're sort of just letting themselves get pushed in. They're not trying to freeze at all. They're not trying to keep it in the middle of the lane. They're just letting themselves get pushed in, and when they push up, they're just too far pushed up.
Yeah, it's harder now. Look at this, just
here
so
we
much
see
pressure.
Here we see one of the bad parts of that is that the Gallia does get that free Justice Punch off there, and they just lose a shit ton of XP because of that. Top lane does to be seen going rather even. Mid lane, same thing. Valanth has been poked out quite a bit, but I mean, other than bot lane, this game is definitely a 1 in 5 favored for now.
Saying high in the bot lane, but not gonna be able to do much about that one. I quite like Valanth's runes actually. Opting for the biscuit delivery against the Xerath is very clever. You know that you're gonna be kind of stuck just taking a lot of poke, and so you want that innate sustain. But a lot of the time, you don't really want to buy Corrupting Pot. Doran's doing a very, very nice item for Orianna, so the biscuits have a nice little middle ground.
Before you finish that, I do want to talk about the Hecarim coming into the top lane.
Well, I'm sorry, but they're gonna step assassin actually knocks both of them away. And Kuki, you're taking so much damage, but you want to get out of this one. And Dragos, he's gonna be forced off too. And the Poppy 1v2 just does not care. It's able to step up and really give out the damage to both Kuki and Dragos. They are having a rough time.
That Poppy W was insane. I did actually not know that the Hecarim E does get blocked by Poppy there.
Oh,
he does actually. No. Oh, that is the flash. Oh, kill picked up for the Poppy. Almost the double kill, but she does go quite low because of that turret shot. She was looking for the Grasp of the Undying proc earlier when she did try and slam onto that minion to try and get onto Kuki, but that is massive now with the Jax going 0-2 and the Hecarim wasting his ghost there for a gank that did not go their way. And I don't really think there's much that the Jax can do here.
Yeah, and is the issue with the Jax pick. You pick the scaling pick up into the Poppy, and you should be able to theoretically scale up. But Kuki, at the start of this lane, steps up and goes to super aggressive trades that I don't think he should
Jarvan
be
heading
able to
bot.
do. He is indeed, and the Flag and Drag is caught out. The double standards come down, but Morin, you're not able to get any Flag and Drags off today. C7, great little justice points to stop him from doing that.
Heal popped for both AD carries there. The Ignite is also dropped by C, so in turn that is still 1 in 5 favored, but they didn't really get any kills off that and any gold. They did get quite a bit of lane pressure there, but C is tanking the wave, so they can just keep it in the middle. Smart move by him. And 1 in 5, not really knowing what to do with their bot lane wave management. Looking at other lanes, we do see that the Xerath and Orianna are quite even, with the Xerath is in the 6 CS lead behind, and the Jax is sort of just doing his own thing top lane, playing relatively safe, knowing that the Poppy can just straight 1v1 him.
Yeah, and I wouldn't really worry about the CS deficit in mid lane because Xerath actually had a back off. So this 4 CS that is down right now is going to be able to easily make up as Valanth is just TPing back to his tower.
Looking at the summoner spells here, we do see that the Zillion is going for the Ignite, which can be relatively good depending on how the bot lane matchup goes. And now that the Kaisa is sitting on that, I can't even see how much of a gold lead that is, but she is sitting on quite a bit of a CS lead as well as first blood gold. So, of course, you can get that Grievous Wounds proc with the Ignite, but other than that, there's not really much you can use that for if you're not going to get any more jungle ganks.
Yeah, and now the level advantage has come up to the top side. Poppy does have that ultimate, the Keeper's Verdict, available, so we'll see if Commodore wants to force another in here. Looking like it. Able to just bonk Kuki away with the W there and just happily win the trade.
I do want to talk about the vision here from both sides. We do see that TSB has favored the more bot side centered control wards, one in Pixel Brush, that the 1 in 5 team does spot out. The Infernal Drake is up, which is going to be work extremely well, with the Orianna and the Jax getting that extra AD and AP, as well as the Kaisa getting that hybrid damage. So they are setting up for that vision over there. We do see that 1 in 5 does have a lot more top-sided vision. The Rift Herald is coming up in a couple minutes, but it's not really something you want to spend too much time on. So we do see that the top
he's going
lane,
to the tower. Oh,
that is risky.
It's risky, but it's paying off.
Yeah. Continuing with the theme here, of vision, TSB does, like I said, does have that quite a bit of a skirmish comp, while 1 in 5 does have all-out dive. They want to be sort of going for those either picks or those full-out team fights. So I definitely like the vision here from TSB, but I definitely want to see a bit more up in the top side, especially since the Jax is behind. He needs to be really careful there. We do see Hecarim going in though.
Yeah, Dragos knows he's going to get blocked off from this. He's taking a little bit of damage. He uses the Onslaught of Shadows though. Commodore is going quite low. Doesn't get stunned. Misses the Keeper's Verdict though, and he's going to be going down eventually.
Eventually. The Poppy does not have the flash from getting that Jax under the turret before on that 1v2 gank, but that is excuse me, my brain is not working. Jax does get the shutdown gold. It's not much, but it's surely enough that he can get some more lane pressure here. Hopefully he does pick up the Tiamat, because Poppy is just pushing him in insanely much. But yeah, that was really good by Dragos there, waiting for the I don't remember the name of Poppy's W, but that ability to come down before he went. Steadfast Presence. There you go. Wasn't that the name of Poppy's old passive?
I am not too sure. I am not old. I'm a very young player.
You're a young veteran.
Yeah. Young veteran. Nah, I'm not sure how that works.
No, you're a young veteran. You've played League for a while. Who cares? Anyways, Dragos does hold on to the Ghost there. He does wait until the Steadfast Presence is dropped before he does go in for that knockback. He does commit with the Onslaught of Shadows, which I actually didn't expect. I thought he would drop out there, but that does lead to a kill, and that was an excellent flash timing, seeing that Poppy's flash is back up now.
Yeah, right now Dragos, he's coming mid lane. The Xerath has no ability spells, but dodges that beautiful shockwave, and that flash is going to not only save him, but could net him a kill. Oh, never mind. He can't aim. Oh, he can aim!
Memorin with
the Flag and Drag, Cataclysm, clean him up, just brush him up to the side. Great play by Memorin. I was about to start criticizing him. He was playing the Dragon pick, and hadn't really got any successful ganks going off, and then he goes and does that, and now I can't really complain.
Yeah, Drago's messing up the devastating charge. They're actually charging Spooky Marley further into his own tower. That is the barrier bait, boys. You see it there by Swag all the time. But that is massive there for the mid lane because he can really try and poke down the Orianna now with those 2 assists. But that flag and drag into the Cataclysm was very clean. It was rather unsatisfying though because he didn't get
Oh
that
my god,
insta
Kuki
kill.
though, he's actually starting to win these trades. The Q doing a lot of damage to him. He's now in the minions. He needs to be careful. Going to force the flash away. Can Kuki get the leap? When he's going to flash forward, gets the leap, gets the counter-struck, and he is going to kill Commodore T1000. Here's Momorendo, gets the flag and drag. Can he get the kill? Secured. Kuki is going quite low. The social spike is used. Will he go down? No, he leaps away. But oh, what a Q snipe. Momorin gets his 3rd kill of the game. And Kuki, he's getting back into the game topside, but Momorin, he certainly is very much the game right now.
Commodore did not expect that Jax ulti, making him that tanky. But that was extremely massive, showing off the power of the Jax there. And especially with the Sheen now, he's going to be doing even more of those extended trades. We do see that TSB does pick up the Infernal Drake because of that bot lane priority that they have. But this is just getting more and more TSB favored, even though that Momorin is playing extremely well in this Jarvan.
See, Sarah's getting TSV favor, but why do you say that? Because I'm looking at the gold lead, and it's still 1.2k in favor of one. Oh, I'm gonna say gank. Doesn't really happen there. Drago's gonna take a little bit of damage, and that's gonna be into that one. C7 unable to get anyone with the sealed shields of Durand.
I say TSB favored because of the just invisible forces that you do see in these league games, such as pressure, jungle pressure, and vision control. We do see that TSB does have a lot of bot lane pressure, and the Orianna doesn't really have that much pressure anymore because of those jungle ganks from Amorin. But of course, the gold deficit is 1.5k in favor of 1 and 5. But I do still believe that in terms of how they're utilizing their comp, I do believe that TSB is doing rather well.
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, they are the mid game fighting composition, so this is where the point where they need to start really setting up for some of these fights soon. As that counter strike does stun up Commodore, but he's going to be looking for to keep it there. It does come out. Kuki getting sniped by a Q from Zareth, and here comes the ultimate, but it's going to get knocked away by the onslaught of shadows. However, Draco, he cancels the ultimate, but he's going to be going down to a lot of damage from the Zareth, and it's going to be a 1-for-0 as Commodore gets his 3rd kill.
C wasn't in range for the Galio ultimate there, so he couldn't really follow up. The Conquer was procced by the Hecarim there, so he did get that more extended healing that he really needed to stay alive in that fight. He did dive in though to stop the Xerath from ulting, so he wasn't able to kill Kuki.
Oh, Duragai, you're a little bit overextended there. Forced to flash away and use the heal. They get both summoners with that small gank, and now they should be able to start pushing for some platings as the Rift Herald is popped bot side. You were complaining about the fact that 1 in 5 didn't have much pressure bot side, and they're saying, you know, let's drop a Rift Herald, let's push in this tower, and let's make sure Duragai can't do anything.
Who needs jungle pressure when you have turret platings, especially when the turret plating is dropping in 30 seconds, and that is going to be massive, especially not as massive, of course, as Poppy getting the solo kill top lane, but still getting all those turret platings with the Rift Herald there is going to be extremely good for the 1 in 5 bot lane. They should be even in gold now with the Sivir sitting on a 4 CS lead over the Kai'Sa and all that turret plating. So it's just back to 0-0 for 1 in 5 and TSP's bot lane.
Yeah, and this is the big thing now. The tower has been knocked down in bot 1, which means that there is likely going to be either a lane swap, if they're being smart about it, or it means that Sivir Zidian can completely take over this bot side, start really pushing up, and that will allow them to get control over this bot side river in terms of their warding, which they haven't really been able to do so far.
I do want to talk about the Jarvan here. He has opted for the Warrior Enchantment there because he is so far ahead. He's also going Electrocute, so of course he's going to be doing a lot of that mid-game damage that you do get with a Jarvan. Hopefully even picking up the Serrated Dirk. Of course you do want to go a bit more tank because of that late-game scaling, but he does have a lot of utility with that Cataclysm. Of course they do have quite a bit of dashes on TSB's side with the Kai'Sa ulti, the Hecarim ulti, and Kuki's Q.
Yeah, fast forced mid lane by C7. Good little gank from him. And now this Seraph, like I talked about a little bit earlier, he's going to be a sitting duck in these fights if he is not careful. He does not have a flash, and Seraph has no mobility abilities in his kit. So, Spooky Marley really does need to be for high positions in these team fights, because if Dragos says, I want to kill you, he's just going to jump on you, and that's how it's going to be. Even if he's 0-2 and is kind of struggling a bit right now, he can still dish out a lot of damage.
Yeah, even with Memorin being so far ahead, they 1 and 5 does need to be careful of the dive and that pick potential that they do have on TSB. So hopefully they can utilize that to its full potential.
Wait, I talked about being worried about Dragos, but he ain't gonna be doing much for a while as he's forced out of his own jungle by a Poppy, who is now pushing in that top side hard. This is a great lane for Commodore 2000 so far, as now 1 and 5 they're making a good rotation up to the mid lane. They've got rid of that bot turret, and now they've put their eyes set in this mid lane.
Yeah, 1 and 5 pushing hard with the vision. Who do you see the dive here, though?
Oh. That was a bit of a botch dive by Draven, and he does get caught out by the shockwave, and now it means the TSP are going to be able to mount a successful tower defense. As Poppy now on the other side of this fight needs to be a little bit careful. Anyone Kaiser were in a decent position to punish, but he will not be done so. He is going to just step up with the rest of his team. They're still looking at this mid turret. It's now right of the arcane. Can they get Duragai? He's going incredibly low here. They get the final hit, gets the final kill. And now C7. Oh, he's forced to flash away. His Hecarim goes down, but Kuki, he wants to get something back from himself. Is able to kill Spooky Marley, but nothing else happening in this fight as they're going to probably head down to this mountain trick.
Both teams have an insane amount of lockdown there. We do see that the Momoran does go in for the early dive with the flag and drag. The 300 gold bounty is given over to the Orianna, though. I do believe it was miscommunication there or a lack of communication, but after that fight, they just weren't expecting the Poppy to just do the exact same thing for actually to work. We do see 1 and 5 is moving down to the bot lane to get that Mountain Drake, which can actually be massive, especially that they do have, both teams do have quite interesting Baron fights. So Mountain Drake can really help one or the other try and rush it down.
Well, one thing to note, look at TSP's flashes. But you can't, they're on, they're down.
Yeah.
Like, the dive that they've had, whilst that was a little bit of a botch dive by Draven, it forced out so many flashes, and after that engage, if 1 in 5 have been tracking the summons correctly, they'll know that, okay, they have no flashes available. If we go in on them, there is nothing they can do about it. Nothing. They have no flashes available. The only thing they really have is a heal from Duragai to save them there, and that isn't going to do enough to really protect them from someone like Momoran just saying, I want your backline.
Yeah, both teams definitely have a lot of dive, and especially with Moran being as far ahead as he is, and he does seem to be going for Cleaver, he is going to be doing massive damage onto the Kai'Sa there. Speaking of Kai'Sa, she does pick up the Berserker's Greaves and the pickaxe here, which does mean that she gets her Q evolve, and if she gets the recurve bow, she should be getting her E evolve quite soon, which does give her that mid-game power spike, and hopefully they can try and do something around that mid-game power spike, especially since Jax does have a pretty good lead. Of course, not as big as Poppy, sitting about 40 CS over as well as 4 kills. But this is definitely just back and forth. It's really hard to judge, but 1 and 5 is just sitting rather ahead.
Oh, Commodore could be getting caught out here. Has his Keeper's Medic available. See if he wants to use it. He is getting jumped on though, and he has opted not to use his ultimate yet. As the backline, but Morin says now we want to flank. The hero's interest is being used by C7. There are 5 members of TSB up here, and now they are stuck in a little bit of a choke point. C7 having to walk out of this one. Keep your eyes on Dragos. His health goes incredibly low. It's actually going to go down fast as the Commodore, and now 5 people strong. They're going to walk through this, but there's Morin secures another kill, flashes out, and he survives. As now, greatly executed tower dive is going to head towards either the top lane or the mid lane. Probably going to be that mid lane.
What a fight. That was amazing communication from 1 and 5, constantly dodging, weaving out of that. We did see that the Momoran did dive onto Duragai, who had to use both his sums there. And Valanth does land a 3-man shockwave, but that's not enough to turn the fight around. That should be a free tier 2 turret in the mid lane for
and a missed Keeper's Verdict could cost Commodore's life here. He is forced to run away as fast as he can, but Kuki has a lot of pressure. He isn't going to go down though. As now Duragai, he uses his killer instincts, but he gets poked out to absolutely no health whatsoever. He just gets chunked. He's forced to back away, and don't really know why you're in there. I mean, tried to defend the tower, but didn't really happen there.
One cooldown I do want to look at is the Zillion's ulti. He didn't even actually have to use it on anybody because no one was dropped low enough. That was just extremely well played, with switching up the turret aggro as well as just being stretched far enough that they didn't really do that much AoE damage that they are known for with the Kai'Sa Q, the Orianna just in general, and the Jax Counter-Strike. Spooky Marley did not have his arcane whatever ulti to try and get Duragai, who did step up with the killer instinct a bit too far to try and save that tier 2, but cooldowns are coming back up now. We do see that 1 and 5 does have flash advantage with actually no flashes for the side of TSB, so hopefully they try and capitalize on this, and it does look like they're actually going for Baron.
Well, they're just gonna head around it, get some vision around it. They could look towards forcing it. They know that they'll win the fight very likely, so they could look to force it. I'd expect more of a bait though, if anything, if they're gonna look towards the Baron right now. I don't think they have the straight up damage to just delete the Baron fast enough. Sure, they have a Mountain Break and a Sivir who's doing quite well for herself, but it's in my opinion it's not really enough right now.
They definitely feel confident, especially with that Mountain Drake. They can try, even if they sort of take the bluff, they can try and rush down that Baron. They do have quite a bit more coverage over the Baron than TSB, but yeah, like you said, I don't actually think they're going to rush it, but they're definitely looking for that pressure around that Baron pit that hopefully TSB can try and use that, excuse me, to their advantage.
And the good thing they're doing here is just something that a lot of teams tend to forget to do around the Baron pit. They'll get wards around the Baron pit, then they'll go push another lane, and then the other team will go and clear the Baron pit, and that'll be it. Whereas what they're doing right here, really nicely, is they're defending all their control wards, all their wards around the Baron. The only ward that really is on the Baron is one ward on the Baron pit itself, but it doesn't really cover that river whatsoever, so walking into it could be an incredible worry for TSB if they choose to.
Yeah, the Jax was split pushing bot lane, but here we see that the Poppy does come up to try and match him, and she actually does more than match him. She actually pushes him back, all the way back to his own turret. We do see that they are trying to go for some sort of 2-3 combo here with the Sivir and the Zillion going top lane to try and push, and their, the rest of 1 and 5's team is going around the Drake, which should be spawning up here, and TSB can't really, I am not working today, contest it.
I think it needs to work somehow. The Mountain Drake. Oh, the second one actually going into 1 in 5. So you were talking about how the Mountain Drake helps us out with the Baron buff. Well, how about 2? That's gonna help a lot.
Especially with the Sivir doing that massive damage that she does have. Of course, it's not as much as the percent health damage on the Kai'Sa, but it's still gonna be quite a bit of rush down on the Baron.
Yeah, one thing to note about the Sivir is that she is sitting on 1.5k gold, so what you see in her inventory is quite deceiving. She actually has a lot more in the bank, it's just she hasn't cashed in on any of it yet because she's sticking with her team as that big 4-man unit is kind of roaming from mid to top to mid to top, just keeping TSB pushed in and not allowing them to do anything in this mid game.
Yeah, speaking of builds, we do see that the Jax is on the side lane most of the time because he does have that TP to try and get on the flank or in a fight, but he hasn't actually picked up the time at yet, and which is rather surprising as he is sitting at a 50 CS deficit against the Poppy, so the time at could really help him with his own role, as well as get him a bit more CS that is rather needed, especially for such a late game scaler.
True, it depends what you really want to go for here, though. I think Kuki might just want to win the 1v1 as fast as he can, because that way he can then do what a Jax wants to do best, like talks about Champ Select, and that's just win the side lane and be that big pressure beacon. I think in the position he has, sure, he's lost a lot of CS, but if he's able to get the right items, because he looks like he wants to just get the Black Cleaver next. I think if he was able to do that, then he could be forced to. But oh, that steadfast presence gets 2, and they're gonna knock away Kuki. And now, Duragai, you're at the cattle. Well, you're up the creek without a paddle. There we go. I can say words, but sometimes a little bit of a skirmish go on, and now 1 in 5. See what happened? But they know that the Kai'Sa isn't around. They're like, yeah, this is Baron.
Yeah, as soon as they saw that 2 people bot lane, they decided to rush that down. The double Mountain Drake is going to be damage, especially with the Kai'Sa having to back and use the heal there as well as the ulti. But it does seem that they don't really want to finish it with the Poppy being bot lane there. But she does have TP.
Well, they go for it, but realize very soon, nope, we can't do this. But they're not going to be able to reset now. A lot of players could be able to cash in on that gold. Sivir still has it. She's at like 2k gold now and is still pushing out. That big item spread that's going to come through is going to be huge. She's going to be securing at least 1 item coming up now from her components.
Marley is going for the Rabadon's second item here, which means he's going to be doing massive damage onto the more squishy targets of TSB, which can be really good, especially if you try and do that before a fight breaks out. We do see that Duragai is sitting at half health here, trying to get a bit more of a CS lead that he already has over Infires, which is rather surprising, especially with the Sivir, W, and Q. But other than that, I think that 1 in 5 is playing this relatively well, with most of the side lanes getting a lot of priority, especially with the Poppy split pushing and matching the Jax there. But we do see the Poppy overextending. But that doesn't
overextend. I don't think she's overextending there. I think she's
they don't really have enough vision there to warrant that hard of a push up, especially since most of 1 in 5's laners are in the mid lane as well as the top side of the jungle.
True, but here's the thing: it probably does it does end up getting quite out there. They have complete control because they know that 2 or 3 members have come down bot. If 2 or 3 members come down bot, we've seen what 1 in 5 do. Return on the Baron. So her getting out there isn't even necessarily a bad thing because she knows that she can win for the Jax. And if anyone else is there, then they do the Baron. Like, it isn't as bad as a lot of people make out just getting caught out there because it can win your team a Baron fight there. Just straight up.
Well, you proved me wrong there, Byron, once again. Here we see that the Poppy does do massive damage against the Jax there, who is just half health and forced to back there. He does actually seem to be going for the Spear of Sojin there, so possibly a bit more dueling potential against the Poppy, as well as that team fight presence that he does have with those countless counter strikes that he does pop out. And 1 in 5 is just sieging mid here.
Yeah, but happy to do this. The right of the Arcane is being used just to pressure the Slowbros off of this tower, and the incredible amount of potence coming through with this Zarak is very good. However, the Hecarim is around the backside of this fight, looking for a fantastic onslaught of shadows. However, looks like 1 in 5 has sniffed that something might be up here, and I'm just gonna back it up a little bit from mid lane, make sure that their vision control is top tier around the jungle over here. Now, I feel a bit more comfortable pushing up again. They know that Hecarim not around, so they might just have to keep a push going. Commodore able to box in this Jax in the bot side, and now they are going to be pushing for that mid inhibitor. Like you said, they are sieging.
Yeah, 1 in 5 are definitely able to pull off the siege, seeing as the only way that TSB can stop it is to just completely full-on dive them with the Hecarim in the backline, hopefully an Orianna ulti. But 1 in 5 does have all of their summoners up, which means that they can just turn that fight around with a snap of a finger.
And they certainly can, so we'll see when they want to turn to around and when they want to keep pushing, because it could be a case that they just want to choke the TSP out slowly, but they might want to pull the trigger. A lot of teams like to play it differently. Instead of 1 in 5 playing a very methodical style here, trying to just keep them pushed in, keep them boxed in, make sure that TSP do not have an out in this game.
At 1 in 5 definitely have a lot of poke potential there when they are sieging with the Sivir Ricochet as well as the Boomerang Blade, and Spooky Marley with the Rabadon is going to be doing massive damage. They also have the threat of that Jarvan engage as well as the follow-up by Poppy, but it just seems that 1 in 5 are just going to be starting Baron, knowing that TSB are going to have to be in their base.
Yeah, and the way they notice the minions are crashing, you know that Kai's is just clearing up minions right now. Look at the vision they have around that top side jungle. They know that Hecarim, Galio, etc. they're all heading up, but they're way too late for that one. They're going to be able to secure the Baron with ease thanks to those 2 Mountain Drakes. And now, guess where they're going again? It's the mid lane siege. Back at it again, but this time they're with the friend, Baron buff.
We do see that Kuki is in the bot lane trying to get as much as he can, but he does see that they might be trying to go for the Drake there, so he does have to back off. Kuki's trying to get as much pressure as he can in the side lanes, but he just doesn't really have enough to do anything. He can get matched by almost everybody on the enemy team, even possibly the Zillion, but of course, he does have that split push potential, but he doesn't have the time yet. So honestly, I'm not really sure what TSB can try and do to bring this back in their favor.
Well, I know exactly what they want to do, what the competition says. Force a fight. Catch someone like Spooky Marley out of position. That's the aim. The problem is doing that against a Poppy, if she is there in the fight, against a Zillion. It's super hard, and especially if you invest your front line, if you invest someone like Dragos and C7 to go and dive the backline with Valanth ready for a shockwave, Duragame is kind of going to be stuck on his own, and I feel like Momoran is just going to jump on him and kill him if you go and die. So it's a kind of a worry them to do that, but I think it's necessary. They kind of have to make a last-ditch fight because it's pretty clear that 1 in 5 are very happy just choking TSB out from their base and trying to play the high percent 90-10 kind of plays more than a sort of like 60-40 kind of big aggressive plays. And I think now it's the point where TSB needs to realize, okay, if we just let this happen, we're going to start losing. We need to force something.
Yeah, definitely. They're playing the enemy's comp extremely well, knowing that they do need that vision and go for dives, but 1 in 5 are just denying as much as they can. We see that only a couple of wards are in their own jungle, but other than that, that's it. Yeah, they're just gonna keep going for that mid lane siege, and TSB
my god,
can't really
Commodore is on a rampage. He is getting stunned up here, but nice flash out there as he right of the arcane is doing a lot of damage over there. Oh, Hecarim! Oh, buddy, what you doing? It's a double kill. Going over now on the inhibitor. is going down. 1 in 5. They secured that, and they are 5 members strong. They are looking at the Nexus turrets. Only 2 members available left, C7 and Kuki. What can they do, if anything? It's now or never. The flash in by C7. Tries to get a taunt there, but it's unable to. And Kuki, he gets blocked by a steadfast presence there, and that is going to be all she wrote for game 1. 1 in 5, take it.
I blinked and I missed it. That was insane. Commodore just dove onto Durgai there, and the fight was over immediately. The Poppy is just such a presence in those fights, and they couldn't really do anything about that. Durgai was their only way back into those fights, especially since the Hecarim was going for that Trinity Force and only had 2 items by the end of that game. And because of his dive potential, that he didn't really have that much time to deal that much damage because he was so squishy. But like I said, I blinked and I missed it. That fight was over as soon as it began, and that was a really quick end to the game that I thought would stall out a lot longer.
Yeah, it certainly was, and great play by 1 in 5 there. They played their comp incredibly well, and they knew exactly what the Slowbros wanted to do, and they said no. It was a good play game by them. We will have a quick break, but before we have one of those, considering it was quite a quick game, we have a little bit of time to ask you for your MVP from game 1. Who was the player here that stood out to you for this game 1? You expected to get a little bit more attention for the rest of this series.
I just want to say, holy shit. Looking at these damage charts, we do see that the Poppy does do the most damage in the game, seconded only by the Zerath by about 1,000 damage. The Sivir only did 7,000 damage that game compared to the Poppy's 17,500. And that really just shows exactly what I want to say, and I think that the MVP does go over to Commodore there on the Poppy, just using his lead extremely well, matching the Jax on whatever he wanted to do, because that Jax did try and get ahead by that split push, but Poppy was just always there to push him right back into his tower, and especially that last fight, getting up to Durgai just completely smashed that fight.
Yeah, so well played from 1 in 5. Like I said earlier, we're going to be heading to a quick break, but don't leave your keyboards because we'll be back with a game 2 soon.
Marbles.
Marbles Pog.
door, I really think it's time to let them in. No more waiting in the wings. You're blowing in the wind, and if you think I'm giving up, you should think again. Unleash the beast mode. I'm the cheat code. Thought the game was finished, nah, I'm the sequel. I am the one now. Y'all finito. Everything I want is in my reach, so I will never stop. I will never stop. Gotta give it everything I've got. I will never stop. Now I'm in the spot. They say I'm getting hot. So like it or not, I will never stop. Stop, no, never stop. I will never stop. No, never stop. I will never stop. No, I will never stop. I will never stop. No, I will never stop. I will never, I will never stop. I will never, I will never stop. I will never, I will never stop. I will never stop. I will never stop. You could be a hero, but here you are, scared of your shadow, looking at the stars. When everybody runs, you gotta stand tall. Hit after hit, you can never fall. If the stars come crashing, you'll be the one to catch them. Don't let go. You could be a hero. Scream your name. When the world comes crashing down, you'll take the pain. You could be a hero. You find a way. Every battle led you closer to today. You could be a hero. You're
Hello, guys, and welcome back. Stream. We are here with Game 2 of the Hextech Cup. I believe these are the quarterfinals, if I am not mistaken. We have 1 in 5 facing off against the Slow Bros. They've decided to opt into the same sides for Game 2, and 1 in 5, they had a very, very good victory for themselves. Their top laner certainly showed up, and now Slow Bros, they need to be a little bit worried coming into Game 2.
Yeah, definitely. It was very interesting games. It was rather back and forth in the early game, but Mamorin on Jarvan was just constantly putting pressure on all lanes, including the enemy junglers. And Durgai and C did their best to try and keep the bot lane relatively even, but Commodore just did everything he could.
Yeah, and 1 in 5. They played it well. They knew exactly what the composition needed to do, and they executed on it great. They kind of nicely countered what the Cerberus wanted to do. They really wanted to play catch and try and pick people off and play this big kind of engaged composition with the Oriana, and it just didn't happen for them, unfortunately. That mid-game fight that we were talking about was non-existent because 1 in 5, they played a disciplined game. They knew when to siege, when to just choke them out, and as soon as they got to the point where they could just walk and take back for free, they did.
Yeah, they knew exactly how to counter the comp that TSB had opted for, and they knew exactly what to do with their own comp. They shut down that every single try that TSB tried to get back into the game. The Poppy was always there, Mamorin was always there, and they just let their own laners just get ahead. And in the end, it was Commodore just killing Durgai in the back lane that led to them winning the game there, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, Commodore, he really took control of that top side, and it really did impress me. I was expecting Jax to start to take control of that matchup, and the fact that Jax didn't, never actually got to that side lane threat was, a testament to how well Commodore played. But of course, other players played well. I really liked how Monroe played. He didn't gank as much as I liked him to, but whenever he did gank, other than that one bot lane gank that went really kind of yikes, the other ganks were incredibly successful. He knew when to jive, and guess what? He has his hands on that pick again.
And TSB did actually ban out the Poppy as soon as they could, but sticking to relatively the same bans as they did last game otherwise. C does pick up the Thresh there for the bot lane, which is, a great blind pick support, as he does have disengage, engage. He has everything that you ever want in support, and they are hovering, or they're actually just taking the buy straight up, which is also a sort of interesting, as they sort of happened last game as well, where they both had dive junglers, and this might just be the same thing, but hopefully the Vi, they might be looking for a more 1v1 onto the Jarvan in that possibly the Scuttle Crab control or those counter ganks.
Yeah, and I'm not too sure about the VI pick here. I mean, the Zillion can just get picked into it. TSP have almost revealed their hand of how they want to play the composition. Vi and Fresh are both champions that want to pick people off, they want to play catch. And you know what's great into a catch composition? A protect composition that can just stop you from doing whatever you want to do and say, okay, we're going to appeal for the ADC. And guess what? They have severe Zillion again. I don't like the fact that they locked in Vi Fresh so early, because that shows exactly what they want to do in this game. 2-1 in 5 by the end of the first rotation.
But I do like this Draven pick. This means that they can have a lot more in-lane pressure, which they did have quite a bit of in the early there because of that invade that went wrong, or not really an invade, pixel brush that went wrong in the early game for 1-5, and the Draven can hopefully shut down the Sivir Zillion bot lane because they are relatively squishy, especially that Zillion, so hopefully they can try and get bot lane a bit more ahead, and even if top lane or mid lane go wrong, then the Draven's just going to be sitting on that massive amounts of gold that he does get with the Kleptomancy build, as well as...
Yeah, I think Draven, certainly a big pick for Duragai. I mean, Duragai and C70 steadily were quite a lane dominant duo. They're one of the best in the league, and I think locking in Draven Fresh on that kind of duo, you're expecting good things. But at Zillion, whilst they did die a few times at the start of the lane, they kind of eased themselves out and had a good job in the mid game, but just smashing open the bot lane. They got all the platings, whereas Duragai got none of the platings, and that was the big difference in that bot side for me. Zillion were always able to maintain a push, and whilst it meant that they often got caught out, that push allowed them to start moving across the map a lot earlier and allowed them to start moving towards mid, getting that mid turret, starting to get control over the rest of the map. And I worry for the Slowbros bot lane to see if they do end up getting boxed in by this push again, because the Zillion lane, it's back.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be... It's definitely going to be... I'm just going to say interesting, I don't care. It's definitely going to be interesting to see see on this Thresh pick. I know he's extremely good on most hook champions, and especially into the Sivir with that spell shield that can just block the death sentence and try and get away from any other sort of sustained CC that they do have in that bot lane. But because of that Draven, hopefully just going to be poking her down in the lane, a death sentence, even if spell shielded, can lead to Thresh going in and getting a free play off, and that extra CC can just be enough to kill her in the end. We do see a Maokai picked up for 1 and 5, hopefully for Commodore that can still be flexed into the jungle. It's not very common. And Spooky does pick up his Katarina, which was actually banned last game, and it's probably because of the Xerath ban from TSB, but this is a team fight oriented comp. I guess they do have a lot of dive with the Maokai ulti and W, as well as the Jarvan Cataclysm, and the Zillion can just bomb onto any one of them. It's a lot of damage. The Sivir and Katarina can just follow up on any engage, and if Katarina even gets an assist, that's just going to be a massive pop off. Vladimir is looking extremely good on this patch, so hopefully he can try and do a lot in that lane against the Katarina. And finally, that is the Urgot pick.
Yeah, and the Urgot, I quite like it for Kuki. He can get a lot of the controller, and it gives him that little bit of a boost that maybe the Jax didn't have last game. He might be able to get the edge in the 1v1s that he really wants to, and having Commodore put on something that the Maokai, sure, he saw what he could do on Poppy last time, but Maokai lacking a little bit of that damage that Poppy had in exchange for that huge amount of tankiness he's going to have in the mid to late game, so at this point, the tables are kind of turned. I'm expecting Kuki to start having a little bit of an advantage in the top side if you look at just the matchup, and then Commodore to really come aligned in the mid to late game and start being this huge team fight threat.
Yeah, I want to look at TSB's comp right now. I'm not exactly sure what they're going for. That potential with the Vi and the Thresh, and of course the Draven's just all around really good in most comps because of his high burst damage as well as high output of sustained damage. But I'm not really sure what they're going for. Of course, the Urgot does have that pick on his ulti, but the Vladimir is also really good at team fighting. So they could have picked a better mid laner if they really wanted to full force on that pick comp, but it's a bit scattered in my opinion.
But what I liked is the fact that they recognized, okay, they know we're going for a pick composition, they know it, they've picked against it with the Silver Scythian. Let's pivot away from that to a more team fight oriented composition where we can kind of chunk through the front line a little bit better with the Vladimir, with the got these big, more tanky picks that can help them out in those team fights. I think one thing that's very important is that the way that it was looking at the start of that draft, I was looking at the compositions, I was like, okay, 1 in 5 should have this. But when they're looking at the Katarina and the Maokai, on the other side, there's an Urgot Vladimir, I think now the Slowboys have given themselves a lot more power in those mid to late game team fights to really start taking it home around those Baron fights that they tried to make happen but just couldn't. And I'm hoping the extra little boost they can have with a Vladimir and Urgot, these more team fight oriented picks, can help them out a little bit more. And especially against this Katarina, that's a big question mark for me personally. I think picking that into a Vladimir, sure, it could have been flexed, but I'm not a big fan of Katarina in 5's play. I think it can be exploited. I think Valanth just needs to play like I'm usually playing, like Zidian or something, and just sit at the back of the lane, farm it up, and there isn't much that Katarina's going to be able to do about that spam missing ping whenever Squeaky Gunny goes missing. You should be able to do this. The problem is that if you overextend, if you misplay that Vladimir, if you think you have a little bit more damage than you do, then Katarina will burst you, and that's where the snowball starts getting going.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be fun to watch 1 and 5 try and do a different composition than they did last time. They excelled extremely well on the mid lane siege with that poke from the Sivir as well as the Xerath, but they don't exactly have as much poke and as much side lane pressure. The Maokai can't really do much in the side lane. He really wants to stick with the 5v5, and the Katarina really has to dive onto people and follow up on an ACC that happens to other people, because if she jumps in, just sort of like a Twitch, if she jumps in when all the abilities are up, she's just going to be dead before she can even get a reset off. So I'm going to be looking for a lot more 5v5/skirmish during this game, and looking at the compositions, it's just going to be a slugfest.
Well, we'll have to see what happens here. 25 seconds left of spectator delay. So those of you in chat who are watching, can I get a hashtag 1 in 5 win or a hashtag TSB win? See who you think is going to take home the game, because if you were to ask me, I mean, 1 in 5, they have 3 of the 5 champions they have last game. I think it's very hard to doubt them, but my biggest worry is in that mid lane. I think Valanth, if he is able to start picking up a little bit of pressure for himself, if he's able to outlast the Katarina and start popping off these mid to late game fights, that is where things really get going.
Yeah, the Vladimir is still a relatively safe pick, and he can really stay safe, especially against that Katarina pop-off, because he does have that pool, and hopefully that can lead to her not getting as fast of a reset. But I definitely think that in terms of comp, they have a lot more lockdown on 1 and 5, but they also have a lot of sustained damage with the Sivir as well as the Katarina. I really don't know what to say. It's really hard to say. I don't think there's anybody that exactly won draft. I don't think that anybody lost draft, but this is just going to be, yeah, it's it's a fun draft to watch, especially with the Draven as well as the Vi. Not as common picks as you normally see. That Vi is opting for Aftershock, which is rather common now because of that dive. You can't get bursted, but yeah, it's gonna be a fun one.
Yeah, we'll have to have a see at how these matchups come to fruition as we are in the loading screen right now. Let's quickly introduce our team. So on the blue side, again, we have 1 in 5, Commodore 2000 in the top lane, Momorin in the jungle, Mali in the mid lane. Oh, nice. Oh, that's nice bit of alliteration. I have that. Infires and THB 100 in the bot lane. And on the Slowbro side, on the red side, we have Kuki in the top lane, Dragos in the jungle, Rapante in the mid lane, and Duragai C7 will be rounding it out in the bot lane. As 5 people are heading towards this bot lane, it is going to be a very cheeky invade, and Sivir might be at the brunt of it.
If they do this correctly, this can be an extremely good vision cheese, seeing as the bot lane Fog of War does sort of curve in. It doesn't look like they've been spotted out. This might actually force a flash or even a kill if played correctly. They are going in, and the Sivir does.
Oh, the hook does land though. Great death sentence. And it's going to follow her over to the Dragon Pit. Kuki has flashed over, really wants this go, but Infires is just going to be able to walk out of this one. And that is a flash burned either side, but Infires' heal has also gone down. So a slight little advantage going over to the Sober. Was also one to note that slight stack of gold in Draven's pocket, already getting a little bit of gold for himself. And this Saber being pushed out of the lane means that early game priority that you're expecting from the Saber to be able to shove in against this Draven is still going to be there. And this Draven gets full control of the lane coming into these early levels.
Yeah, Sivir is going to have to come back to lane a bit longer than normal. That was a really good flash by Infires flashing over the Dragon Pit instead of just flashing backwards into the team. That did mean that Kuki did have to burn the flash. C didn't actually burn the ignite, which actually maybe could have led to a kill, but she does live through that, and now they're just going to have to play a lot safer than they normally do. Of course, with that Draven who's going to be trying to poke them down, they are going to have to play them safe, but with both sums down, this is going to be, if Duragai can really exploit this, this can be a free lane.
Yeah, it really can. We'll have to have a look at how this goes. It's now a top lane brawl. We'll be starting up a little bit of a wet noodle fight, as they call it. But I want to see. I'm really excited to see how these trades go in top side. Which, I mean, Director's camera always loves to go top. But we saw last game about how explosive this top lane can be. We'll see if it ends up being the same case this time. And that's Seeking Army. We're looking for a very nice trade onto Valanth. He's actually taking a lot of damage. The Ignite's actually come down too, but here is Dragos. He's looking to respond. But is that going to get anyone with the rocket punch?
Yeah, that was a pretty good trade for Spooky Marley, but he did drop the Ignite, which in a normal situation would have forced the mid laner to back out there. But since it is Vladimir, he can try and stay and sustain. He does have the teleport though, so it wouldn't be too bad if he backed, because he could just teleport right back to the lane.
Yeah, one thing to note too about that Ignite is that it has that Grievous rune, so whilst it's been going on, you can really use it to just force that Vladimir to just kind of back off, because he can't just out-sustain your damage very easily. But another thing to note, I'm quite liberal with my Ignite usage personally, but that's because it's only on that 3-minute cooldown. I think using it for the lane pressure, you don't have complete control of the lane early as Katarina. You can start pushing him around. And that's the idea what we want to do. Is now you see Sikimani going in, so much damage, forces the flash out, and he's flashed to the tower. Oh no! That's the first one over to the Vladimir. Oh, it was going so well, Marley. But now Momorin coming up to the top side, seeing what he can do to Kuki. Kuki going quite low. The dash is interrupted. The electric comes down, and Kuki, you are not long for this world, as Dragos kind of watches and then backs off.
Kuki did not have the flash because it did use that flash to try and get Infires on that early invade, but that is a that is a kill going over to both sides. Marley trying to get that tower dive, but sadly his dagger did not spawn close enough to the Vladimir to try and get any extra damage. And that gank did end up with Kuki being back at the fountain, not dropping anything.
That was not another guy. The ignite comes down. That's a lot of damage. Will he back though? Or will he stay? I think he's gonna stay. Oh no, he's gonna back. Oh no, he's gonna stay. Oh, do we know? Oh, what would you do? What would you do, lass?
In this point, I do have heal, but I don't really know if I want to use it. The Sivir Boomerang Blade, she does have 1 point in it. Level 4, she might get 2 points in it, which means that she does have that massive base damage that she has. But the lanes in the middle, I mean, you do have Thresh Lantern with the shield, so that might just be enough to allow you to stay. And they aren't really applying enough pressure to warrant a back, in my opinion.
Wow. You heard it here from the bot lane expert is...
Now, call me that, but sure.
We do see a nice little wave stacking up for Sivir and Zilean right now. If you look at the goal they're sitting on, it's around about 800, so they're not really going to want to back right now. As now, Siki Mali, he tries to basically have mid, but now it's pretty noticeable already. The Vladimir sustain is getting quite powerful. He already has that Hextech combo, which means he has that extra little bit of damage for himself. And it means that it's kind of hard for Katarina to do a lot here. I want to see if she can still get something off as, you know, Hulk gets thrown out. Dragos, though, going to be trying to engage onto Commodore 2000. However, he is Maokai. He is considerably tanky, and I think he's just going to walk out of this one.
He still had Flash there as well. One thing I do want to look at is how aggressive Marley is playing, even if he doesn't know where the jungler is at all times. That can work in your favor as well as not, because you do get that extra lane aggression, especially when the jungler might be bot side.
But the jungler is here, and Spooky Marley, so it tells you he's not going to be able to get out of this one. Does go quite a lot of pull. Is he used? And Dragos, yeah, he's not going to get the kill. It's going to be Valanth getting it. He is 2-0 and having a great performance for himself in this early landing phase. And Katarina, Spooky Marley, buddy, you've been overextending a little bit too much. Be careful.
Yeah, like I said, he doesn't exactly know where the jungler is at all. Play rather aggressively because of that. The Vladimir is sitting on 2 kills now, so there's not really much you can do in terms of that because Katarina is a rather snowball heavy mid laner. Hopefully we do see Rafante trying to get some roams in, trying to get Kuki back in the game. He does, of course, he's sitting on a fine top lane, right? It is a tank, so it's not much in terms of snowball there. Especially since Maokai is more just of a lockdown champion. Bot lane, we're seeing a really good trade.
Oh, the side it does land onto THP. He has no ultimate yet. The Double Stun does come down, but it's not going to be enough to take Duragai off the map. And THP, he goes down and nothing really comes in response. That's unfortunate.
That was a nice hook by C there. The Zilean going right into it. The Vi was just there for moral support, it seems, as well as a possible Drake setup. But Duragai did use his heal, and he is sitting on about 100 HP, so he does have to back in the end there. Not great for 1 and 5, but I mean, it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it certainly could have been. As now that top lane, you know, Commodore's done a great job of getting himself to advantage. He has 10 CS up right now, and has a kill to his name, so he is doing a very good job on these tanky picks, actually, getting a lot of aggression down. As Suki Mali trying to make something happen mid, as now Rafante steps a little bit over his bounds, but has the Sanguine pool available. The Ignite has come down, but that's going to be all she wrote. As now Commodore, though, he is going to push Rafante out of his tower, and oh no, buddy, you are shut down. The gold goes over to Momo, and a good 150 gold extra in that jungler's pocket.
Commodore just taking the lead there, just diving under the turret and everybody following up. He had the perfect amount of time there on the tank as well. One more tower shot and he would have been dead. The Vladimir did use pool rather early there, and because she knew Jarvan there, Katarina could play a bit more aggressive than normal, and because she has been doing that, I don't think Vladimir really expected it because that's her normal behavior. And I think Spooky Marley did use his own mistakes to his advantage there in that gank.
Yeah, that was a very, very nice gank, and they know that the pool goes down and they're able to punish it. What surprised me is that Rafante still has his flash through that, but I guess he got CC to death, so nothing much he can really do.
Yeah, Rafante definitely didn't expect that power dive by the Maokai, or the re-engage, I should say. Bot lane, we are looking at the sitting there, possibly looking for a gank, possibly just trying to wait.
Well, the gank is coming through now. He's going around the side. Duragai be quite out of position, but so could THP. He just gets bursted down so quickly. Duragai, though, he is gone too, and C7, he flashes out, but he flashes into a bush. What are you doing there, buddy? I don't think that is the way to your base. Bye-bye, Fresh. That's another kill going to go to Infires. 2-0 on this Sivir pick. He has been doing a good job for himself.
You're wearing the wrong color. See, that's the blue side. You're not supposed to go that way. But that is a great gank for 1 and 5. Infires picking up both kills there. Top lane, something's going down.
Yep, both, I imagine the ultimate's going to be used by both members here. And yeah, Commodore, you're gone, buddy. Bye-bye. That's unfortunate for them, but the pressure to get bot side, I'd say, is probably worth it. I would say that Commodore should have been a little bit more aware that, okay, jungler's bot side, they're meant to play there. The usual response is to make a play top side, that's back off, doesn't really recognize that, and is punished for it. However, though, Jarvan is able to get his hands on this Cloud Dragon alongside the rest of his team in C7. Could it
Infire is playing his lane really well, especially with all that Draven pressure that Duragai did have. We do see that Infires is looking at about a 10 CS lead, and because of those 2 kills, hopefully he can just play it rather comfortably in his lane, because he does have that Zillion ulti coming up soon, so any mistake can just be refurbished with that Zillion ulti. Top lane, it looks rather even now because of that gank by the Vi, and yeah, I mean, pressure is rather even in basically all lanes right now, except for possibly mid lane.
Yeah, and now where you see side lanes might kind of spiral out of control. We did see that happen last game, but the push from Civilization was too much for Duragai and C7 to handle. Was C7 going to get stunned up a little bit, but Duragai's here to respond. So THP needs to be a little bit careful. Most 5 point, we saw, yeah, bot lane gets shoved in. Top lane was a very, very strong matchup for Commodore, and then Mormon started getting ahead. So really, they're kind of in a very similar position. The issue is that right now, TSB do have a good gold lead for themselves, and the reason they have this is because both Valanth had a great kind of showing in the mid lane and has about 800 gold on that, but also, if you had a keen eye, Duragai got 4 sacks of gold in a row from his Kleptomancy, so got a bit of money from that. So despite Infires having the 2 kills, having a 10 CS lead, it's actually behind about 600 gold still.
Yeah, it's very hard to actually guess exactly how much gold a Draven has without looking, especially Mancy. His passive did get nerfed a long while ago. Where
the Ignite has come down mid. I'm going to have to interrupt you there. I do apologize. I'm speaking to Mali. He's going to see if anything can happen there, but unable to make anything happen. Oh, Ramsey just deletes him. And Commodore, that's another gank, buddy. You're going down. Getting camped harder than I'm too stoned. And Yuki gets his 2nd kill of the game.
2 kills picked up for TSB, 1 gank and 1 a solo kill on the Vladimir. They definitely need to be extremely careful with the Vladimir now, because he does have that pool and can get into the backline in most fights and skirmishes. And Marley just needs to be playing extremely carefully now and picking his fights extremely carefully.
Yeah, and Duragai taking a lot of poke, and this is the beauty of the servers that they made. They just poke you out, you know. You want to all in, they say no. And now THP, he was cut out quite a lot. He did try twice in this lane, but now has his ultimate available, the Chrono Shift. So it's a lot harder to force stuff onto the Civilization now, with the fact that Underhunt and the Chrono Shift had those extra peel tools on them. And Duragai, if you're in his position, it's kind of tough for him now. You want to have this lane priority, you want to start making plays happen, but against the lane of Civilization, that's a difficult thing to to really trigger.
Duragai is in a relatively awkward spot right now, because all he can really do with that Draven is try and get as much pressure as he possibly can.
Oh, here comes Katarina though. Let's see what she can do. Does get hit by the death sentence, so nothing gonna come of that one. And Mali forced to burn his flash.
I like the idea there with the Roam trying to get as much back as he possibly can, but like I said in Champ Select, you need to be really careful with this Katarina. If you dive on top of somebody with CC before that CC is used, you're not going to be able to do much. As soon as you expunge that ultimate, for example, you're just going to be a sitting duck. Like I was talking about before, Duragai not exactly in the greatest spot, trying to apply as much pressure as he can, but he is rather even in lane. THB doing the best he can to try and poke him out, but he does have that Vamp Scepter. C also trying to look for picks, and bot lane's just bouncing back and forth in between turrets. Of course, the Sivir is... Oh, the gold lead's actually looking... Or, excuse me, not the gold lead. The CS lead is looking even in the bot side now, but Vladimir just doing what he needs to do and pushing Marley under tower, and knowing that Marley can't 1v1 him, he's just playing extremely swaggery.
Yeah, and Commodore has kind of lost control of this top lane matchup a little bit, thanks to those ganks that came through from Dreos. He has done a good job at controlling Commodores. Now, a play is being made mid, but that is a Vladimir with a pull and a flash, and you're not forcing anything on that guy.
That was a nice flash by Valanth. I do believe that the Jarvan did hold on to commit because just of his insane amount of healing. He did actually have the Hemo Plague still up, and that is also an insane amount of healing. The Zilean is staying mid though.
Okay, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, Rafante. Oh! Sukimani nearly goes down there. THP giving with a clutch Requiem to save him there. And it's, oh, C7! What was that, buddy? He not only gets back because he flashes out after using the flame against the Death Sentence. That was just some smooth moves. However, they don't really force much. Even it's maybe more style of a substance there, but C7 gonna stop someone's back, looking like it. Oh, no.
The Drake is coming up now, and the Jarvan does back, so they're just going to be looking to rush this Drake since the buy is bot side. I don't believe 1 and 5 knew that because they don't exactly have the greatest ward coverage right now, but that was, I think that was a product of how THB did play the last game. We did see that he didn't need to ult as much, and I think Rafante did dive onto that because he thought of it as Zilean just being a CC support instead of thinking, oh, he can revive everybody that I try and kill. And like I said, product of last game, but Rafante does die because of that mistake.
Yeah, and unfortunate for him is that's his second death of the game, and he is one of the big members for his team. He's got this early lead against the Katarina, very, very well played by him, but it's now onto... Now it's kind of the focus to shift to him, but what's he going to be able to do in this mid-game, considering a few more members are behind us now? Lantern going to help out Durga a little bit more, and he drags, but he doesn't flag.
Vi is sitting there looking for the re-engage, but I don't believe that the Jarvan nose is there, so Sivir might actually trying to push up, knowing that they do have jungle picture.
Yeah, this could be a bit of worries now. Here comes Vi's Lantern in there, and in fires, he's probably on the hunt. He flashes out of there, but the double stun isn't going to help him. Durga gets himself his 3rd kill over the game, and, you know, CSP not looking too bad, to be fair. Look at the gold lead, and now they're 2k up. That isn't awful whatsoever.
That breaks my heart. See, with the insane hook, they're even in the Zilean bomb, which, credit to THB, was also a main factor there. At that gank, it could have stopped everything there. In the end, though, Infires does die because of the death sentence, and Durgai, with that Draven passive, I didn't actually see how many stacks of adoration there he got, but that is not a Draven you want to go up against with 3 kills and a 150 down.
Oh, Kuki, he's going aggressive onto Commodore, has him in the bush, and yoinks him away with the fear beyond death, and 3-1. Kuki's having a great performance compared to his game 1.
That is a crunchy Maokai who has opted.
Crunchy?
He's a tree!
Oh, well, I guess.
What else? Yeah, I mean, he's not soggy, is he? I mean, you never know what Maokai does in his spare time.
If you ask me what adjective would I use to describe a tree, I'd think, you know, be fresh,
earthy, you know.
Earthy, there we go. That's
gamey taste. Pair it up with a nice olive vinaigrette.
Love a good bit of tree crust in the morning, you know. But okay, jokes aside though, Commodore 2000 is being turned into a little bit of crust right now in this top lane because Kuki has been doing quite well. He has been pushing forward. Look at the health on that top lane tower. It is very, very low for Commodore. He's going to be struggling to hold that, and he's kind of going to be trapped topside now if he wants that tower to stay alive. So C7, he's hanging around, wanting to make something happen, but doesn't realize he's on the ward. Does go backwards, but this bot lane fairly even. I say fairly even. Is a bit of a goldie for the Draven, but that's thanks to the Kleptomancy. Bar that, it has been a fairly solid laning phase from both parties. As now the Rift Herald goes over to Java. It's actually very, very big. I didn't see that one happening.
I do want to talk about Mamoran's gameplay right now. Of course, he is still playing extremely well on the Jarvan, not as dominant as he was last product of what happened throughout the entire game. He does pick up the Rift Herald in the end there, which can be really used to hopefully even get the Katarina ahead as in lane. TSB are looking at about 3,000 gold lead, and the plates, excuse me, are dropped, but nobody's actually picked up first tower yet, so that Rift Herald could actually be a lot more gold than they had anticipated. C does get caught out though.
Well, he gets a bomb from him, but nothing much else comes out. As Kuki actually heading towards the mid lane right now, they notice that mid tower is on incredibly low HP, and they want to siege down this turret. Can they do it? They're stepping up right now, seeing what they can do as the flag and drag. Mummerin stepping up very aggressively. The cast comes through at C7. He's going to be took down very quickly. Guys on Mummerin though. He's going very low. Does get took down by the Proto Battle. Dragos now is ignited. Goes very low. Here is the death focus. Tsukibagi trying to get some damage down, but does not have a lot. But the double kill on Sivir does mean an incredible amount in this team fight. Infires able to hold this mid lane for the time being. He is 4-1. He's having a great game too.
Infires coming off on the flank there. They did not expect that, picking up 2 kills for himself, which was massive there onto the Vi Thresh. I do believe Valanth was in a very awkward situation there in terms of cooldowns. He didn't really get to do much. Durgai does get the bot lane turret, but that is the TP coming in from the Maokai, and Infires is there as well. 3 people are there. That is Durgai going to be going down. You flash though.
Yep, he's going to flash in, see if he can get a kill onto Infires, but that is not going to be the case, unfortunately. He's just going to get whittled down by the tank and the support. The shutdown goal goes over to Commodore, and now all of a sudden 185, the tempo is back in their favor.
I like the aggressiveness there from Durgai trying to get Infires down, because you know he does that and that lifesteal. He does burn flash and heal though there in the end for nothing, sadly, as Infires does get away without using a single summoner. Zilean did not have ulti up either, so it was a nice idea from Durgai, but in the end he did overextend a bit and not really think about summoners there.
Yeah, oh, C7, that's a nice little hook there from yourself. But
misses the Flay though. He does Lantern into Vi, who does still have the Assault and Battery up, but they decide not to.
oh, Mummerin. Careful there, buddy. You can't be just taking skull crabs like that. And Dragos wants to step up and make something happen here, but forces the Flag and Drake away. And now their eyes are going to be on this 3rd Cloud Drake. They should be able to secure it for themselves without much interruption. We'll see what the enemy team can do about it. Infires THB, they're positioning to see if they can do anything, but they've dragged it out to a very, very nice position. And TSB, they're going to very happily just take that dragon.
They took that drag. That is the 3rd air Drake of the game. They knew that Commodore's TP was down, so it would have been a 4v5. He did start the fight, but it was just going to be uncontested. They had already half started it because of the Draven ulti and a bit of damage that came down in between. That was just a quick and easy Drake without contention.
Yeah, and now let's say Malky wants to make something happen in the mid lane, is looking for the flank, and just kind of pops his head around. But the Rift Child is being put down. Draven unable to get the stun. And so now they are going to be able to get some damage onto this mid lane turret as
the Vladimir is bot lane though. He does have the TP up.
Oh, but he is actually getting a great siege off from that bot lane tier 2, and right now 1 in 5, they're struggling to get a lot of damage down onto this mid turret as 4 members of TSB are sat there strong. No one's answering the Vladimir right now, and he just might get his hands on a turret. Then again, he is that AP character, and whilst they did have a little bit of a buff to their damage on turret, it isn't hugely insane. It's, oh, Marley, buddy! Oh, you have been caught out incredibly there. Durgai gets himself a kill, and that pick could mean a big priority for TSB.
Massive crit damage coming from the Draven with that IE. Now, that would have been a nice trade if there was still turret plating on there, but the Vladimir, of course, does get a rather nice split push there onto the tier 2, and they didn't really get enough onto that. They tried to group up around the Herald, but it wasn't enough in the end. We do see that Vladimir is just going to run away from Commodore as he just out-sustains the Maokai in general.
Yeah, Valanth just able to walk away from that one very, very easily. He's doing a great job this game. I have to give props off. A lot of people were saying that Valanth was one of the weakest links of the Soberos, but he's shown up incredibly in this game for himself. And I want to say in last game, he certainly wasn't the reason they lost. He had a decent Oriana game with a few shockwaves, so big props, you know, he's having a good game.
He's definitely having a good game. I do want to talk about the Vladimir meta. He does fit into a lot of great comps, especially those team fighting comps that are a bit more AP centric. He works extremely well with the Kaisa because he does give that extra 10% damage with his ulti, and he is just such a frontline as well as backline threat. He does build relatively tanky. He does have around 3,500 HP by the end of the game, but he does have that pool to just dive onto the backline, and Valanth is really utilizing that to his main potential.
And as important Valanth, you're going to be forced to pull away there, buddy, but I'm not sure if he can be able to get out. Does use the flash and the proto bow, and meanwhile, Momo, you've been caught out in your own jungle, and Valanth, he actually gets out of that one, and the Slowbros now have full priority around this mid lane, knowing that 3 members went to their spot side.
That's what I really like about the phase rush here. You do get that Nimbus cloak, and the Hemo Plague on Vladimir is such a versatile utility spell. It does give you that healing, that pressure, that extra damage, and because of Nimbus Cloak, it also gives you movement speed. So if you use that and you try and get out from bad situations, you get healing as well as movement speed, and that's all you really want in those sort of situations. We do see that they are trying to siege mid here again, but Valanth's just going to be sitting bot, just taking the tier 2 leisurely and pleasurely, and Commodore and a couple others are going to be moved out to try and stop him.
Yeah, just this good play by the Slowbros, and they're playing it very well. They have a good. How much is that going? That's around about 5k actually for themselves. They are starting to take a lot of control around this game, and really now, if you are in 1 in 5 shoes, what is your win condition? If you're kind of losing out on these fights, you're trying to catch out the side lane but nothing's happening, you're trying to siege mid and nothing's happening either, what can you do if you're 1 in 5?
Well, obviously Infires is sitting at a rather nice kill lead. He is sitting at 2 items as well as the calling to try and stop the Vladimir. But one thing that I do think works well with 1 in 5's comp is the Cataclysm. If they can try and land the Cataclysm onto the Vladimir before he pools, he can't get out even with his pool, and that stops any of his backline damage that he will be looking for in those fights because of the Zillion trying to use his ulti on whoever dies first. Other than that, I think they just got to try and get as much as they can. Of course, C is a pick monster with that Thresh as well as Dragos, but I think they just need to look for skirmishes with unhealthy numbers, possibly like a Vi and the Vi and the Urgot, possibly Infires, Momorin, and THB, and try and get as much as they can. Of course, Draven does have that passive, and much of the gold lead does sit on him, so I think it's much more even than we actually think, but I don't think they can do it in exact 5v5.
Yeah, we'll have to see what they're able to do. If it was in my position, what I would actually try and do is try and set up some sort of 1-3-1 with Civi going top side and just kind of pushing in themselves. It's the double of special, a lot of people know about, but Civi is a surprisingly strong pusher. Can push it very fast. If we're able to get priority top side, it can force a few members around. But Fresh looking for a play over here. Tiki Valley. Oh my goodness, gets absolutely chunked, and there goes the Zillion Valley. Not able to do much with the Death Lotus, and Infires now igniting down. Oh, Rafante is going quite low in this boss side. I want to check what's happening in the other fight. There's like Kuki is flashed over, looking for Momorin, is able to get the double kill for himself there, and now they have the priority to just walk up and do the Baron if they choose to.
During that fight, bot lane Rafante and Commodore were just having a healing fight there. They don't. He doesn't have the Morellos yet on the Vladimir, so of course Commodore does have a lot of healing. But in the end, it was Commodore that walks away there healthier. But that fight, I wasn't actually looking by the blue buff, but that does lead to a Baron. Infires is coming up, but I don't believe he can force them off there. He does drop the spell shield, which is going to be massive for any sort of contention.
Yeah, it certainly is now. Baron dropping to about 2k health. No jungler alive for the side of 1 in 5, so that Baron Nashor safely going to go over to the side of the Slowbros. And 26 minutes in, they're looking quite unstoppable.
One thing I do want to talk about now that it's a bit calmer in the game, the Vladimir has opted to go for the Rylai's Zhonya's Proto Belt. Usually when you go these phase rush, you try and get as much as your defensive stuff in your runes, and then you just opt for full AP. You usually go Proto Belt into the Rabadons, and that gives you a lot more HP from your passive as well as AP, and you do get that defensive, like I said, from the runes. But he has opted for the Zhonyas and the Rylai's for a more safe and a lot more pick, which does work well with this comp. And of course, it's not. Some people don't really like to go defensive when they are that far ahead, but Rafante does get caught out by the...
Well, say he gets caught out, he's just going to flash away. And now the dragon, the mountain dragon, going over to the side of the Slowbros, and this time they are 5 people strong in this bottom lane. There's now the Baron buff minions going to look to crash into this turret, and now they'll be looking to force another fight.
Marley heading down from the mid lane as well, so that's going to be 4v5.
There's a big fight force happening there. Rafante able to pull out of a lot of dangers. Now Momorin looking to dive into the backline, but there's no one there to support him. And now 1 in 5 are getting collapsed upon. Might get dove. Keep your eyes on their health bars. They're all around about half health. We'll see if that gets punished now. And looking towards his bot lane inhibitor, should be able to get it for relatively free. And now Subos probably going to be back off a look towards the mid lane.
Momorin does dive onto the backline there when they are relatively split up by communication. He can't really do much damage onto the Draven there, who is sitting on a PD as well as a Bloodthirster. And Momorin is looking fine in terms of items, but not enough that he should warrant a 1v1 dive there.
Yeah, now it's starting to become a real draw trouble for 1in5 to get a lot of control on the map. With that bot lane inhibitor going, they're going to need to constantly commit someone to be on that bot side. This is the point where you now put Valanth in the top lane, and essentially you have a free threat composition with an inhib wave coming down bot side, meaning someone needs to go and clear that. Vladimir in the top side, meaning someone needs to go deal with him, and it means you can only leave 3 people in this mid lane, and that becomes a little bit of a struggle when you're looking at about 4 members with the likes of Vi and Fresh sitting there just wanting to force on you. It becomes a kind of an impossible situation.
Speaking of bot lane, I do want to look at TSP's vision there. They knew exactly what to do in that fight because they knew where everybody was. They have vision every bush, every single spot. There is very little fog of war that they could have played around for 1in5, and they just knew that the Katarina was mid lane heading down. They knew exactly when to engage, and in the end, Urgot does pick up another kill. He is 7-1, even though he did have a shaky early game because of that Maokai, but he is looking really strong right now.
Yeah, he certainly is. There's a 2 bombs miss. We'll be seeing what 1in5 can do. Commodore looks to force a little bit of an engage, but once again, it's onto this Vladimir, and nothing much is going to be able to happen there as a sort of stun comes down, but nothing much. We'll see if 1in5 can defend this. They are 5 people strong, but that bot lane inhibitor wave is coming in. Someone needs to go deal with the super minions. And whilst that's happening, Subbo is very happy to just walk down the mid lane, knock on the door, say hi, we are here. Can we please have your base?
Cataclysm is still up, and Hemoplague won't be up for another 30 seconds, so this could be a rather good fight, and we see Maokai going in.
Oh, Komodo, looking to see what he can. That's a lot of CC down, but THP already out of the fight before he can revive anyone. Duragai hit himself another kill, Mothrin unable to secure the dive onto him, and now Infires and Commodore, the only 2 people left alive in this fight. This could very well be game 2 going over to the Slow Bros. Play your Silver Scrapes, even though it's a best of 3, not a best of 5. We're looking for that final game. The game 3 is upon us, and Commodore, he's looking to see what he can do here. C7 does go down. Looking at Dracos is going to go down too. This could actually not be it. Oh my god, they actually might be forcing them off. Duragai, he is nowhere to be seen. He is gone. He is dead. And the rest of his team crumbling around him. The only person left alive is Kuki, actually. I misread the name tags, but dang. They're alive still. I was about to just hype it up, go to the next game, but you know, they say, nope, nope, we're not ending now. Byron, you're not allowed to have your little hype exit.
Infires does survive the fight there, but I do want to look at what C7 did in that fight. He landed a massive hook onto the Sivir and forced her to flash out of his death box, and that left her dealing no damage that entire fight. And so Duragai does survive with about 200 HP. Of course, he did end up dying in the end there, but that was amazing, especially focusing on their 1 win condition, which is the Sivir currently. And next game is really going to dictate it. I mean, Baron is up in less than a minute, and I don't think 1in5 can contest because they do have an open Nexus and 2 lanes with inhibitor minions. Hopefully, Kuki and a couple other people can push out the mid lane as well as the bot lane and just get a free Baron off of that and just end the game.
Yeah, and one of the other big issues here is that was inhibitor waves on mid lane and bot lane. They're not top lane. You can't be sat there getting top side pressure right now because you have to sit and go deal with your other side. If it was a top side inhibitor wave, you could see yourself being able to deal with that failure and being able to walk over and challenge. But C7, he's here with a lot of CC, and we could be seeing this Maokai getting cut out. But here is the rest of 1in5. Oh no! It's looking like TSP could have been cut out with a hand in the cookie jar. Oh, speaking of Cookie, here he is, and he is going to be going down shortly. Oh, never mind, the Lantern 57, very, very nice. Looking at 1in5, want to continue forcing this fight as much as they can. Valanth has pulled into the backline. Spooky Valley is going a critical, will be going down. Able to score the kill on the 2 Commodore, and also Murmuring going down. All of a sudden, TSP turn around that magnificent fight, and now there is only Infires and THP remaining between them and this Nexus.
This is what I was talking about 1in5's 1 win. Try and get those fights where they had positive numbers, but again there, that re-engage by Commodore might have led to their downfall, especially with Vladimir just diving onto the Hemoplague into the backline that I was also talking about. That is so much damage, and this is just going to be game.
That is going to be it. GG's are thrown out in all the chat. We are going to the deciding game, a game 3. We have a series on our hands. Man, that was a big flip from last game.
Break out the Silver Scrapes, ladies and gentlemen. We have a series. Byron said that was a interesting couple of last fights. They were extremely long in fires and Duragai both pulling their parts. But in terms of the entirety of the game, who do you think was the MVP for TSB?
Now, usually this is the other way around. I get to ask the color caster this, but if I'm able to take it myself, I think Kuki did a great job topside. I think he deserves an honorable mention. And you look at the damage stats, and he was able to do a fairly decent amount. But for me, you know, I'm a mid lane main, and Rapante, from expectation versus reality, he did a great job this game. This Katarina did absolutely nothing for the side of 1 in 5, and it was thanks to him that he was shut down. So very good play by Rapante right there, and is able to let his team get to that game free, and did a very, very, very good job mid lane.
I think everybody on TSB played extremely well. Kuki, of course, he didn't have the greatest early game, but he did take that lead, especially with the Fear Beyond Death, and just ate everyone up and ate up their gold as well, getting massive amounts of power spikes there. I do want to have a honorable mention and possibly my MVP spot to C7. He had a lot of picks with that Thresh, and in most of the fights as well as ganks, he just left in fires out of the blue and had forced her away from most fights. And so I think I'm actually going to give my MVP to C7 there on the Thresh.
Well, we had it here first, and so C7 is last MVP. If you guys have any MVPs in chat you want to drop, you can do so, or you can wait till game 3. It's perfectly fine. But we will be heading towards another quick break with some Marvels action, everyone's favorite. So we'll be seeing you guys at the end of that for a game 3 match, the deciding one between 1 in 5 and the Slow Bros. Do not touch anything. Do not go anywhere. You won't want to miss it.
Legends never die when the world is calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you. Every time you bleed for reaching greatness, relentless, you survive. They never lose hope when everything's cold in the fire.
Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Valanth League stream. We are here with the Hextech Cup quarterfinals, 1 in 5 versus the Slow Bros. It is 1-1 in the series right now. The winner takes all in this best of 3. The final game is upon us, and the pressure is mounting. Hello, I am Byron, and joining me again is Last.
Hello.
Last, tension's building. How do you deal with this if you're a player?
Well, I mean, honestly, both games have been decided basically in the early to mid game, so I definitely, hopefully, for me, it's more fun to see those, 40-minute games where it's decided by one fight. But honestly, I think it's going to be very one-sided once again. If in terms of being a player, just like think about what you did right, what you did wrong, especially when 1-1 like. It's very easy to remember what you did right, what you did wrong, and especially as a team, you can try and capitalize on that. And especially since you've seen enough of the other team, you can try and punish their mistakes that they often make.
And the thing is, we've seen what a 1 in 5 win looks like. We've seen what a slow rose win looks like. And to me, the pivotal matchup that kind of showed me where they won was that top side. I think in game 1, Commodore was able to get a good lead for himself, shut down Kuki, and that meant that 1 in 5 had the priority top side to be able to move the jungler around to the mid lane, to the bot lane, and that's what allowed them to make those early plays and to start really snowballing the game in their favor. Oh, but they are just gonna first pick that Jax away from Kuki. They think that Kuki may have lost a lot on it, but they think that they can have a lot on it, and that is a big surprise from me.
Yeah, BLDL definitely wasn't kidding about the play being the big point, the big focus point of this game. The Jax is, I I definitely think that the Jax can be a good pick depending on what they want to do the rest of the game. Like I said, it was dictated in the early game, so they might be trying to focus more on like mid-game skirmishing. But into that, it does seem to be the Kennen here, which I'm not sure about the matchup, because usually you do go Kleptomancy on the Kennen, and trying to go up for Kleptomancy procs can lead to the Jax just jumping on top of you and counter-striking. Other than that, I think the Thresh pick is great for C. It's his comfort champion. He's really good on hook champions, and we saw him do extremely well last game.
Yeah, and the Sejuani being looked in for Moblin is not going to be going for the Jarvan this time, and an Ari for Spooky Money. It was banned away in the first game, if you remember, but now finally has his hands on this pickup. Rapunzel needs to be careful in this, but I mean, he's no stranger to stopping snowballs. We saw he was able to do it game 2, but now Marley has the Ari. We'll see what he can do with it.
Yeah, I definitely like the Sejuani locking in as fast as good. He didn't put enough priority on that. They decided to go in straight in for the top lane matchup, even though they could have saved that to, a later pick. But instead, they let the Sejuani get past, and they pick Vi into that. They also ban away Infire Sivir, which could be fun to watch Infire's try out a different carry that isn't as safe. We did see him do extremely well last game on the Sivir, but it wasn't enough to actually turn the face of the game, since it was just a look down snowball lane in game TSP.
Yeah, and now that Sivir being took away, it does mean that we'll be seeing a new bot lane duo from 1 in 5. No more Sivir Zilean. We'll see what they want to bring out as. Yep, Zilean also gets stuck away. You're not allowed both those picks.
I'm not gonna lie, it is sort of a boring bot lane to watch, seeing Duragai and C trying to get as can and just waiting for Infire HP to scale up and try and do as much as they can on the Zilean. We didn't really get to see Zilean's full potential because they didn't get past that 35-40 minute mark where Zilean's ulti is on an extremely low cooldown and can warrant any picks just gone, especially when you have that Thresh. But that Zilean ban does mean that Duragai hopefully wants to go for a more of an even laning phase that is dictated by jungle pressure, and seeing the Vi, that sort of reinforces that decision.
Yeah, I think Duragai, honestly, I think a Lucian looking could be good here if they want to choose that, but instead, it looks like they're going straight for a Malzahar. It's a decent matchup into the Ari, but one thing you need to worry about, that spell shield will get popped as soon as Ari uses her ultimate, her dash towards you. However, Malzahar can very easily push the Ari in and negate a lot of her ready pressure. You just need to be very careful at how immobile you are, as the Varus going to be Infire's pick of choice in this bot lane, alongside a Tom Kench for THP. So still a fairly safe bot lane, decent amount of pushing power, a decent amount of poke with Varus's piercing arrow, but maybe not the same kind of style necessarily as a Sivir Zilean.
I definitely like the Tom Kench pick here, especially against the Vi, Thresh. I mean, all of the members of THB have extremely good lockdown, and into Tom Kench, he doesn't necessarily need to go cleanse into this matchup.
Whoa.
That he can still do very interestingly. Kog'Maw picked for Duragai there. Thresh and Kog'Maw, not the greatest pairing. They do still have that peel and the disengage with the Flay and the death sentence, but not really enough to pump out the damage before your Ginsus get stacked. I do want to talk about this Varus pick a bit more. Usually you see the Varus paired up with the Karthus jungle, so that Varus can poke them down, usually building like 1 or 2 lethality items. He pokes them down, and then Karthus gets his ulti down. But instead, they pair this with a Sejuani, which means that they want to have a lot more lockdown. And seeing this Kog'Maw, that's exactly who they want to focus on, trying to get the Varus ulti, as well as the Charm and the Glacial, the Sejuani ulti. It's Glacial something. And Jax can just follow up on that with a Counter-Strike, and hopefully C does stay in the backline trying to use his Lantern, just like Tom Kent should stay in the backline trying to get Varus out of these bad situations. I don't really like the Kog'Maw pick here. Like you said, you were expecting a Lucian, and so was I, honestly, based on how the last couple of games were going, it dictating these mid-game skirmishes and team fights. I think Lucian would have been an excellent pick here, especially with that dash. But now picking the Kog'Maw, it just forces C7 to play a lot more passive and just wait for the Lantern to get thrown onto the Kog'Maw. And you never know, that might be taken by somebody else who might be dying, and Duragai might just be left in the dust.
Well, the reason I question this Kog'Maw pick is that you're picking an ADC who typically needs a lot of protection. Kog'Maw has no mobility spells. His range, sure, his W can get very high, but it is still a little bit of a worry with the fact that he isn't very fast either. I do seriously worry for this Kog'Maw pick, because not only is he picking it into a Varus, Ari, Sejuani, great lockdown on all those champions, but also in terms of peel, all he really has is a Fresh and a Malzahar, maybe like a tanky Vi, but those aren't the most insane peel tools, and I feel like that Kog'Maw pick could get incredibly bursted. However, if Duragai plays it well, I'm assuming they practiced this pickup, and if he is able to play this pickup well, is able to get a little bit ahead early, get a little bit of gold that he needs to, able to survive that laning phase, his team fight will be absolutely insane. We know how Kog'Maw can do in team fights. It can destroy. So the hope here is that Duragai and C7 together can actually make something happen in this bot lane, get Duragai a kill or 2 kills, or at least keep him very, very even in CS, let him scale up to that mid to late game point, and then let Kog'Maw do Kog'Maw things, hopefully without an Ahri of his butt.
Yeah, I especially like the Tom Kench, just like you said. They are going to try and hopefully get the Kog'Maw ahead, and that Tom Kench can be used to save the Varus from any unfortunate mishaps and mistakes. THB didn't actually go cleanse, which means that he is going to be a bit more susceptible to CC and won't be able to save as many people. I want to talk about the Kog'Maw pick, though. Malphite, or excuse me, not Malphite. Malzahar and Kennen, they both have extremely high burst potential and lockdown potential with their ultimates, and they just have a lot of ability power and AP damage on their team. I don't believe the Kog'Maw was the greatest pick, because they do already have meaningful magic damage, and of course the Vi does have somewhat peel, but her most of the time her job is to dive onto the backline. And one of the fun interactions with the Vi is that if you ult onto somebody that gets eaten with Tom Kench, you won't actually knock anybody up, and you'll actually follow the Tom Kench. So if THB plays this correctly, he can actually get the Vi way far away from his team, where she's just going to get bursted down by the rest of the team.
Yeah, I certainly think I prefer the 1 in 5 composition. The one place I question it is probably in the top lane. I think Kennen's a very nice matchup into Jax, can have a lot of early lane priority, and can also get some great flanks off in team fights, whilst Jax is going to mainly be sitting in that side lane and farming. But we'll be seeing how Commodore can pilot this pick. He's been stuck on tanks the first 2 games, but now finally unlocked on a more aggressive pickup. So we'll see what he can do with it, as we will introduce the teams to you very quick. On the blue side, once again, third time on the blue side, it will be 1 in 5. Commodore T Farmers will be on the top lane with Jax, Mumrain on Sejuani in the jungle. Spooky Marley has the Ari that was banned away in the mid lane. Infire is now on Varus in ADC position, and TH100 is taking the Tom Kench. On the other side of the rift for TSB, we have Kuki in the top lane on Kennen. Dragos will be taking Vi in the jungle. Rapunzel on Malzahar in the mid lane. Duragai on this, I would say, questionable. We'll see what we can do on this Cogmore pick in the ADC position. And C7 going for his classic fresh pickup is now another 5-man from TSB, but a 5-man to the other side of the map from 1 in 5. 2 invades, and they're not going to meet each other.
One thing I do want to talk about is Spooky Marley going the Ignite on the Ahri. Usually you do see more of a defensive summoner spell on the Ahri, but she does seem to be looking for more aggressive plays against this Malzahar, which can work in your favor, especially if you're going Electrocute. You can get extended trades without, or sorry, not extended trades, short trades without Ahri. But in the end, you really have to be careful of that Malzahar pass all in when that's up. Of course, you can try and proc it, but if you try and proc it too early or too late, that Malzahar can just lock you down and hopefully just get away with a flash in the end. Looking at some other runes, I do see that the Varus is using the lethal tempo, which means that he will almost definitely be opting in for the attack speed build instead of lethality, which probably works better with his combo.
Yeah, and now TSB players getting in position. They certainly got the better of their little invade. It looks like the 1 in 5 were trying to catch out that Tribush invade that TSB were able to get off game 2. But this time TSB make an adaptation and move to the top side, and they are able to get a ward on the blue buff. So they know that Sejuani is what side right now, starting on that red buff. Can be very, very big intel for them, as now they know where the Sejuani is pathing very likely. They know going to be around that buff and can start making a few little predictions and hopefully saving their lane is a little bit of trouble in terms of jungle pressure.
One thing I do want to talk about and sort of discuss a bit is the blue side pick for 1 in 5 here for the 3rd game in a row. You usually see some more comfortable picks on game 3, but for game 2 they decided to stick with the same side. What do you think warranted that, and why didn't they try something else?
Well, in game 2, they were they already won. They'd won game 1. They just I think they just wanted to clean up the series 2-0, and they could probably secure a lot of the same picks if they were in that draft again. As you saw, they had 3 of the 5 picks they had last time. The problem is they weren't really able to execute on those picks, and those extra ones that ended in, the Maokai and Katarina, just did not work for them, unfortunately. They have changed up a lot more now with no picks they've actually played all series long. These are all fresh picks for them, which is very, very nice. So we'll see what they can do on these picks now, because they have completely changed their composition. We'll assume they can be playing a lot more of a catch composition now.
Yeah, I can definitely see this game going a bit longer than the other one, both AD carries being rather scaling. Duragai does opt in to go in for the Doran's Blade. He is applying an extreme amount of pressure, which is exactly what you want to see, especially when you don't go for that Doran shield, which helps when sometimes, especially in solo queue, when your support doesn't exactly know how to apply much pressure, you sort of have to peel for yourself, which when you do opt in for that Doran shield, you sort of do. But they're playing very comfortably in that lane, and I think that Doran's Blade is going to do wonders for him in that sort of early to mid game fights when he doesn't get that extra lifesteal that he needs.
Oh, Dragos is trying to get a little bit of an invade here. His bot lane is coming up to help, but so is THB. But THB, he might be the one getting caught out here. The next sentence does land. He can't even pop the Grey Help, and the first blood goes over to Dragos. A very unfortunate flash time, and he's already dead.
Yeah, not just flash. There was actually a heal dropped by Infires as well. I don't, not in range or if he was already dead, but it was so close to actually surviving there, because he did hit level 3, which means he does have the thick skin, so he could have shielded. But that was really nice timing from TSB to get that kill, and they just knew exactly what to do when the Vi was counter jungling there.
Well, I mean, it wasn't really it wasn't, okay, never mind. Infires, you're getting took very low. The Ignite does come down, and he's going to be forced out of this lane, or just forced to farm with piercing arrows, because stepping up again could be very, very troublesome. C7 has been on point with these Turks. It's insane. This guy's a monster.
This is exactly what you want to see when you do pick Ogma. Applying tons of pressure, the enemy team quivering in their footsteps, not being able to do anything. The Kog'Maw's just farming as comfortably as he can. Of course, they are sort of pushing in, which is not exactly what you want to do, but C's just landing every hook, man. Looking at some other lanes, I do see that the Kennen has opted in for the Kleptomancy, which is fine, but into Jack's matchups, you want to try and get as much pressure in that early game as possible, which is usually when you opt in for the Aerie. Nothing too massive though. Kennen should be able to win that lane even with the wrong runes. He has opted in for the TP as well, which is relatively normal. So hopefully we have seen a lot of TPs come out lately from the mid laner and the top laner for both sides, but we haven't really seen any TP plays other than a couple in the mid game. So I definitely want to see a bit more of that, especially since Duragai and C are pushing up quite a bit.
The issue is Jax's TP plays are very, very hard to execute. Not only do you have so he gets put out on the TP, so you get about 5-6 seconds to know, okay, here comes Commodore, and then he has to put a counter strike, which is just going to take another 3 seconds to go, and then you have to land on them somehow. And with all that time that they have to kind of prepare for this kind of engage from Commodore, I wouldn't really recommend the TP play. In fact, I'd recommend just trying to keep priority topside. However, the Kennen play, the Kennen TP play, that's a completely different ballpark. As soon as he hits level 6, if he gets a good TP bot side, able to get that slicing motion, get a big gank off, 2 free kills, then all of a sudden you're looking great.
That is definitely true. The TP play is definitely really good on Kennen with that. Saying, here we do see Duragai
actually slicing motion. As we talk about it, but he's not going to be using it in the TP play. He's going to be using it straight onto Commodore. And Commodore, you are low. In fact, you are going to go down. Kuki uses his flash to get that final auto down, and now we'll be doing very, very well for himself. Using the Klepto procs and that first bud, he is now sitting around about a 600 gold lead at about 6 minutes. That's 100 gold per minute. Not too bad.
And that's honestly as expected when you have a ranged matchup, something like the Jax, which is extremely melee focused and not that great early game. That was extremely well executed by Kuki, going in exactly at the right time. Of course, Commodore didn't exactly play that correctly either. He did ward jump just like 1 unit away. He could have possibly gotten away, but the top laners do burn both flashes, and that can be crucial for what the junglers want to do next.
Yeah, it certainly can be. As now, looking at the map, good drag and take from Dragos there. The control was doing very, very well for the side of TSB. They had complete control of the river for that play. There was no way that they got spotted out, so well played by them. And this RA, past the level 6 mark, still hasn't done an incredible amount in this mid lane, and I worry for that, because really, if you are that RA, you should be playing a little bit more aggressively, a little bit more up front, and starting to push this Malzahar down to his town like he is right now.
Looking at some of the CS numbers, Infires is doing his best to stay in the CS, but we do see a gank here, so I'm just going to give that over to you.
Well, yeah, it is going to be a gank, but the flash from C7 combined with Valanth means that Duragai will be able to get out very easily without even having to burn a single summoner himself. However, Sejuani is hanging around for a possible being just clearing out some vision, getting rid of that control ward, and that'll be all she wrote.
So hopefully they use that to their advantage, knowing that the Thresh does not have his lantern, excuse me, his flash up, so hopefully they can try and execute on that and get a free kill onto him. I do want to talk about Commodore's build right now. He did opt in for the timeout on the Jax. He is actually doing pretty decently in terms of CS, especially against a Rage champion. I'm not sure about the timeout because you sort of want to keep it in relatively close to your tower. You sort of want to freeze. You don't want to get poked down under your tower, but you also don't want to push up.
There is a being made bot right now, so Johnny is coming for the return. You can see C7, you're cut out there, but you have no health remaining, and meanwhile, a solo kill in the mid game. That's exactly what you want to see if you are this Ari, going aggressive, getting the charm, and getting the kill.
Yeah, I don't know what was happening there with the vision. That had vision Tri-Brush, and they just didn't see it coming, but I mean, C7 definitely should have played back, waited for the Lantern to give it to the Kog'Maw. That's usually what you want to do when you're flashless on Thresh and in Thresh in general. But definitely that was really good for 1 and 5. The gold lead is sitting at about even now, and hopefully they can use that bot lane to try and put some more pressure onto the Kog'Maw.
Yeah, that is very, very good for them. It allows themselves to get the pressure. And the reason why they didn't have vision is because Sejuani, when she ganked earlier, actually cleared out some of the vision that was there. Moshi had the priority bot side, and that meant that the regank, alongside knowing that they burnt the flash, meant that it was a very, very nicely set up gank there.
Definitely a good setup indeed. They do have a lot of this gank setup on TSP 15. They do have that slicing maelstrom as well as just his passive in general for the Kennen. They also have the Malzahar ulti and the death sentence on the Thresh. So Dragos can definitely has his work cut out for him for these ganks. Mid lane seems to be going relatively even, or actually no. Now that I look at it, Ahri is sitting lead and a kill onto the Malzahar, which is perfect for her. That's what you want to see. The Malzahar, while he still does provide utility when behind, he's really good at getting those single target damage in those corridors where they don't have a lot of vision. You're just sitting in the bush waiting for the AD carry to pop out or something, for example, and then just one-shotting it.
Yeah, one big ability to talk about whilst I have it on my mind though, we are going to be heading to some mid-game skirmishes soon, I imagine around about the 15-minute mark, 16-minute mark, and that Nevergrass from Malzahar is going to be incredibly important. Now, I know there's a thing about QSSing Malzahar, and I'm going to be honest, I actually don't know whether you can QSS. I know you can't cleanse Malzahar. But can you QSS?
You can QSS Malzahar.
You can QSS, but you can't cleanse.
But you can't QSS the damage. It will still provide damage, and he will still be suppressed himself, but we do see a gank in mid lane.
And speaking of someone being suppressed, there it is, Valanth gets the kill.
That's exactly what I talk about. They have so much lockdown on TSP, like Draco's just cut out for him. Give them enough range and enough gap closers to get in that that lockdown so they can just get the kill for free. I do want to talk about some mistakes that the bot lane is doing for both sides. For example, THB is walking out of lane in vision, which means that, like I saw before...
Durgai. Watch yourself, there's a change of corruption landing, and Durgai is not long for this world. That little pupper is
That's
gone.
actually exactly what I wanted to talk about, leaving lane in vision. This, if the enemy support plays that correctly, that means that they can get free pressure as well as possibly even a kill. Because you see that it's a 1v2, and if the AD carries out of position, that's just an easy kill because the support has to go the long way around if he doesn't want to die himself. And so that's just going to be hopefully a better lane for bot lane. But here we see that
and that mid lane is dead. Great use of the glacial prison from Sejuani there, being able to secure the kill onto Rapance, and now their eyes are set onto this ocean dragon there. Should be able to be taken uncontested considering that fight is sat at base, so well played by 1 in 5 to make those rotations and
Malzahar
rewards.
Malzahar had the right idea, keeping top side of his lane since he does have wards there, but he did overextend completely, not have any ward coverage in the bot lane from what I could tell, which means that Sejuani has an easy glacial prison set up. Other than that, that's just another kill picked up with Ahri, which is going to be amazing for her. Hope she might opt in for the QSS. I know a lot of mid laners do get ahead in lane, opt in for the QSS to just even further that that gold difference. Even though it does cost quite a bit of gold when you are ahead, it shouldn't matter too much. And especially with that QSS, that just removes an entire ability from his kit. And that's exactly what you want to see against, for example, for this Ahri against the Malzahar.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. Malzahar able to secure his second Gwyff, and the Gwyff very, very useful. Malzahar, you can keep pushing in, and that's essentially what he wants to do here. You look at the placing difference in mid lane right now. For 2 platings have already gone over to the Malzahar, whereas no placings going over to the Ahri, and that shows the kind of strength of the lane. The reason why Malzahar has a nice pick into the Ahri is, oh, never mind, Chains of Corruption has landed onto C7. He's going down incredibly fast. The Marine trying to score a kill there, but he has been caught out by Dragos. Good little stun there. THB forced to use the Grey Health, is going down very fast. Oh, great DP play from Kuki. Uses Slicing Maelstrom, and no, we don't care about looking mid lane, but that is a good Never Grasp as well. Speaking, Mandi goes down to Rapance, and 4 members of TSB strong in this bot, so they're going to be looking to see what they can get onto this turret. And I think it'll be going down. But, oh, great death sentence means that bye-bye in fires. You are gone, Mummerin. You can't step up either. Great pick off by C7 with that hook. He is so good. He's got like magnet hands with these.
So well played by TSB there. As soon as the Sejuani tried to opt in onto the guy, they just locked her down, killed her. And then Kennen saw that immediate act, TP in the backline and try and get in fires. Of course, he did drop one person, but it wasn't enough to get the bot lane dead. But then C7 just hitting with that magnetic hook like we were talking about, getting massive picks. And of course, the Jax is going to get a trade of, okay, he actually doesn't get the first tower there, but he should be able to pick it up since Kuki does not have the TP. That was massive again for the bot lane of TSB. Durgai did not actually pick up any kills, so it still should be relatively fine for the Varus, but Durgai is looking at a minor CS lead here. I do want to look at the top lane actually. Even though Commodore is 0-1 on the Jax, he is actually at a CS lead. Probably not a gold lead since Kuki just picked up 3 kills, but in lane he's been doing these really good trades when he has his counter strike up. Most of the time you do see that the Ken is about half health while Commodore is at about 80% health, so he's doing everything right that he needs to right now. Of course he didn't counter TP, which could have been good, but I think it's fine since he did get that first tower, and that's about a 2,000 gold deficit for TSB.
Yeah, and now it's a good lane state, good state for the game for TSB now. It's getting to the point where it's very, very difficult to team fight the squad. If you try and go into the mid game and jump on these guys, Mazahar's going to say no, Abaya's going to say no. C7, he's going to say yes for the looks of things. He is getting stunned up by the Rift Herald, but Commodore, remember, don't have an incredible amount of damage together. They are able to secure the kill though, so C7, you're a little bit out of position there.
So much lockdown on both sides. You need to be really careful when playing. Usually you do want to see the support and the AD carry going to work together, possibly even the jungler there, so that stuff doesn't happen. Especially when you do have the likes of Glacial Prison and Charm.
Oh, Dragos looking for the stun. Oh, he gets the steal. Great play by Dragos there. He's going to get stunned up and killed himself. Fancy on the backside of this fight, trying to keep things happening, but he is going to go down eventually. Commodore also going for it. Durgai goes down, but Spooky Malvi, you need to get away from that Cogmore, buddy, but you're not able to. There's Kuki, and Durgai will be able to secure his first kill of the game for himself. But overall, a fairly decent trade for 1 in 5. The Rift Herald actually doesn't actually go over to anyone else.
Yeah, that it was nice to have that Herald for 1 in 5, which would have been them possibly even giving them a tier 2 in the mid lane. Great steal by Dragos, but in the end that wasn't enough.
But it's not going to catch anyone other than THP. Going to be forced to use the Grey House, but big stun onto Infire's coming up, trying to make something happen. Oh my goodness, look at the damage. But THP, he's so low, so is Commodore. They're so lucky to get out of that one with their lives. I was scared for them there. I thought that could have gone very, very badly, but they are able to secure the kill and get out.
C is a gift and a curse in this game. Sometimes position, most of the time he's after hook, after hook, after hook, and I love to see that. Of course, that fight did end up in 1 in 5's favor. Spooky Marley was the only person that got picked up for TSB with the extremely early flash there against the Kog'Maw passive. Other than that, I think they were just extremely split up in that fight, and because the Vi did steal, in the end it does sort of go well, seeing that the gold lead is even now, but that's massive for 1 in 5, especially with the Varus picking up a kill, and the Jax is 4-1 now with the Trinity Force as well as the Merc Treads. He's just going to be massive.
Yeah, and the Jax didn't come online in game 1 for TSB. 1 in 5, they cracked their knuckles because they say this is how it is done, and now Jax will start taking over the side lane.
Ooh. Spirit Rush is dropped by the Ahri there after C7 tries to land his magnetic thresh hooks. I'm completely fine with her ulting there. I would be scared as well. Jack's overextending here.
Oh, never mind. Ezio was used to blasting plan very nicely. That could have been really bad if C7 ended up landing some sort of CC on Commodore, but you know, been able to himself, and now 5 members strong, 1 in 5 are looking to break open the mid lane tier 1 and start pushing into tier 2.
Kuki does have flash up as well as the slicing maelstrom. 1 in 5 does not have vision area where Kuki is, so hopefully he can try and get a flank here if they do want to fight. But it just looks like they're going to try and anti-siege here while the Malzahar is split pushing bot lane, and he might actually be able to get a lot of damage on that tier 2 tower. We do see a ping coming out from 1 in 5 to head bot lane, so hopefully he does see that as his point to leave, and leave assigns is gone fishing.
Yeah, and now we are looking at a good amount of mid lane priority for the side of 1 in 5. The gold lead isn't necessarily there in the mid lane, but the fact that they're able to start pushing in and controlling the river is very, very important. Securing those scuttle crabs, starting to get those control walls down, get that extra vision control. That's what they need, really. Get that extra control, and it makes sure that you're not walking around and you suddenly get picked off by a Valanth.
one thing I do want to discuss a bit more is 1 and 5 of do have quite a bit of scaling, but so does TSB. Do you want to try and end the game as soon as possible, or do you want to just try and get as many objectives as possible so you can have that advantage in the late game?
Yeah, right now they are pushing it down mid. They get the tier 2 as well, so they're going to start really applying the pressure onto the slow bros. And there you go, see, ends up dodging the charm there, but the Baron buff has just spawned in 1 in 5. They take very nice note of this as they're now starting to get a little bit of vision control around this river and around the kind of Baron area.
Yeah, they're definitely trying to get as much vision as they can. We saw Commodore dying minutes ago, but he had the right idea. Everybody's moving. Jax and Malzahar are actually staying in the bot lane here. They seem to be resetting for 1 and 5, seeing as the Baron is up. This could actually be quite a bad thing, but it does seem that both teams are resetting and waiting for this Baron fight that is almost bound to happen.
Yeah, and the thing is with this Baron fight though, do 1 in 5 want it to happen? Because I would say probably not. I mean, sure, whilst they have a decent lead for themselves right now, it isn't by much, and a lot of it's on this Jax in the side lane. They want to pressure around Baron, bait it out, make TSB very worried about the threat of it, but you want to ideally have Jax on the side lane, just keep pushing up, applying more and more pressure, and just make it super annoying. Because now it looks like he's going to be heading towards the wit's end, not able to finish it yet, but is going to be looking towards it soon as they've kind of left their vision. The Slowbros finally able to secure some of themselves. However, Valanth needs to be careful. Can he get to the lantern? No, he cannot, and oh no, he's just gone.
Extremely out of position there. Nice lockdown by the Sejuani and the Tahm Kench there. After that play, I really want to talk about what do you think 1 and 5 should try and be doing here? Do you think they should try and opt in for their late game scaling, or just try and siege down the mid lane?
I'm surprised they didn't do Baron there. I mean, that could have been a good call for themselves, but I think they just want to play it a little bit safer right now. Dragos looking to see if he can pull the trigger. I mean, Dragos C7 have a lot of engage between them, but then again, it's hard for them to do much when they know that they don't have the numbers advantages. 4v3 on this top side. Seems to be 4v4 as Valanth does start to respawn, but we'll see if Commodore wants to force onto Kuki. Kuki forced to get away from this one, and Commodore having a lot of pressure on the side lane, but I want to see him really start to exert it.
Rafante is also a topic I want to talk about. Which does have extreme lockdown. He hasn't been able to show it off yet, though. He hasn't really found anybody out of position. He's been quite out of position himself. This could also be a factor of the Slow Bros' vision control that they don't exactly have right now. But because of that dominance that he hasn't shown yet with the Nether Grasp, none of the members of 1 and 5 have opted in for a QSS yet, and which could be in the favor of Slow Bros in the end, but that's just exactly what they want in that point, to try and get the Malzahar so behind that his ulti just literally becomes CC instead of, oh, I'm gonna die now.
I do want to quickly shout out, that's 4 dragons being secured by 23 minutes. That 4 VL, that's a pretty damn good dragon control from both teams. And 2 clouds, 1 in 5 to no, sorry, no, 2 clouds for TSB, 2 oceans. Oh, Mother'in! He's caught Duragay out with a glacial fissure. That's huge. But look at the death sentence on the Spooky Money. He cannot get the pick down. Jason Corruption also land onto the Cogwall, but there is no one there to follow up with any damage. And now here comes Dragos straight into the middle of the team. Spooky Molly taking a lot of damage here. Kuki does not have a much momentum, but we're able to secure a kill. As Duragay, he's gone, I believe. Oh no, he's still alive. How is he still alive? Absolutely bonkers. He has a flash and the heal all burned in that infires. And the rest of 1 in 5 forced to disengage. Jax tries to make a play that fight, but just gets bursted down. He was not in that side of position. As the death sentence lands again. Oh my god. C7 can land some hooks.
C7, my MVP from last game, showing it off with pride. That was an amazing fight for TSB. The instant peel as soon as they decide to opt in for an engagement. Here we see another one going down.
Maybe he survives. No, he doesn't.
No,
Never mind.
That's the space aids from the Malzahar just doing massive damage even when you're in the Tahm Kench belly. And that is exactly what I wanted to see from Valanth, locking down the Jax as soon as he came. He saved that nether grasp for the person that wanted to dive onto Durgai, and as soon as somebody tried to do it, they all just turned. When the Sejuani tried to dive onto the backline, they all just turned. And one thing I also want to talk about is the Dragos re-engage with that Aftershock buy. She was extremely tanky. She actually survived past the initial engage, but did drop down from other sources of damage. But they played exactly what they needed to do there, and that just worked out extremely well for them. And they are looking at a 1,000 gold lead, but it's still exactly what they needed.
I think one big thing I want to look at in that fight, the Glacial Prison and the Chains of Corruption both land onto Durgai, but Durgai survives through all of it because the ADC in Fires and Spooky Mally, they're not in the correct positions to punish, with Spooky Mally getting caught out with a death sentence and all of a sudden killed, and in Fires being nowhere near to do the damage. And it meant that Durgai, whilst these big CCs land onto him, and we were talking about it at the start, the champ select position, that okay, this Cogbal's going to be able to get picked up very easily with those kind of champions. It just didn't happen there, and he should have really died, but because his team was around him, because it felt like only if I couldn't get into the fight, those big cooldowns are burned for really nothing, and that's when they forced the re-engage, knowing that those cooldowns are away.
Yeah, that was definitely really good. I did actually see that Durgai had Rage, but first item before the Blade Through King, which is actually pretty good for what they wanted to do. They wanted to try and get those mid-game fights out, and with that early Ginsu's, which is most of Kog'Maw's damage mixed with his W, that was that was quite a bit of damage.
Cut out again, but is it him who's getting cut out, or is it Momo? Dragos taking a lot of damage on the backside of the fight. TP coming in from Kuki. Oh wait, no, it isn't Kuki, it's Valanth. I forgot there's two TPs, but Suki Mali does able to get a kill in response. Suppression does come out in Fires, but he survives to the fight. Suki Mali on the side of this fight is going very low. He's on behind enemy lines, but so is C7. 8 Fires, he's gone!
Oh!
Durgai gets a triple kill actually. Oh, what great Kog'Maw play right there. Able to use the max amount of his range to his advantage and picks up the last members of 1 in 5.
A 4v5 in the end there for 1v5, and Durgai goes massive peel teaming. His team peeling extremely well for him for that fight, allowing him to pop off and get those Ginsu stacks as soon as possible. And you saw that damage, even with his lethal tempo and Ginsu stacked himself. The Varus wasn't used. Actually, he was relatively close to doing enough damage, but Durgai just doing everything he needs to do that fight, and they end with a tier 2 coming out from both teams. The Jax split pushing in the bot. In the end, you do see the power of both comps. While it was a 4v5, it was still relatively close, and even when all the kills are on the Jax, but he does manage to split push and get the tier 1 bot lane. Not exactly an even trade for 1 in 5, but I mean, it could have been worse.
Yeah, and whilst this happens, Jack's able to secure the bot tier 1, something that he's been trying to do a lot for this game now, and he finally is able to break it open. Albeit when his team loses the team fight kind of rough, but the fact that he's able to secure that means that next time he goes spot, he can push up a lot further now, with a lot less pressure on him, and it means he's more of a bait when they want to go towards Baron.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised they went for the engage on Durgai there. Down. But Commodore actually didn't have TP, and they actually decided to just continue to go on that full-fledged fight. Durgai actually wanted to sort of back off by that red buff ward. He was just sitting there not exactly knowing what to do, but they just kept fighting, and because of that Jax TP, it was an uneven fight, and that led to Slowbros winning it. And now they just have so much vision around the Baron, they can actually probably opt for it, seeing that the Jax was bot side.
Slowbros are going towards the Baron. The health is slowly getting lower and lower.
That
below 50% now. THP, let's see what he can do. Charm does handle the C7 doing quite well. The slicing mushroom does tag a few members of Baron. Going in for the steal. Can he do it? Yes, he can! He's stolen the Baron buff! And now Dragos ulting in, trying to see what he can do here as a desperation fight happens. 1 in 5 are just going to look to disengage this one. They have the Baron buff. What a great steal from them. They are staying in the game.
2 people go down for 1 in 5, but a mass steal from a Morin there. They keep themselves in the game. Of course, they still do lose a couple of pretty important people, including the Varus, but C actually survives as well. A bit of miscommunication out from TSB, seeing that a couple of them wanted to rush down the Baron, but the others wanted to re-engage onto that Sejuani, and in the end, they didn't kill her fast enough, and she was able to deal the Baron. Of course, TSB does pick up the Drake, but Jesus Christ, that was possibly game saving.
I mean, you say possibly, I would say definitely game saving.
Fair enough.
This Jax is up right now with a Baron buff, and sure, have one Baron buff from the rest of your team, but this Jax is so key to have this Baron buff now, because now his side lane pressure has been amplified tenfold with this push.
I meant to say game turning, but yes, you get what I mean. Anyways, yeah, definitely seeing that the Jax is using that Baron buff potential, but we do see that TSB is opting in for this top side, which is perfect, seeing that the bot lane for TSB is pushing in, and I don't think that 1 in 5 have noticed it yet. Of course, it's not that big of a deal right now, seeing as they haven't started
Here comes the collapse. Assault and Battery is used onto Goldor. He is trying to use his counter strike, but he is gone. However, mid lane, they're looking to see if they can force anything, using the Baron buff minions to try and siege this mid lane inhibitor turret. However, the left sentence, it lands again. Infire's going to be gobbled up by THB, but he's not going to be long for this world. Double kill going over to the Cogmore, and the Slowbro is able to punish correctly, as now Kuki going to see what he can do here. The speed from the TSB members is quite fast, but they're not going to be able to continue the chase. They will just continue their push through this mid lane, as now they know they'll win the next fight. They can just walk down mid and see if they can force anything. C7, he gets a
oh my god,
landed. This man, oh Jesus
somebody
Christ.
nominate that for VLDL. That was 3000 IQ throwing out the lantern, thinking that he would start the animation for the hook, which leads the Ahri to go to the other way, and he just lands it again and again and again. That fight was really good for TSB as well, seeing that Infires and THB were both out of position. Usually what you want to see there is the Tahm Kench sitting way far back but still in range for that E. He was, but all members of TSB just collapsed onto him, and in the end they both did go down. Of course, Infires does have the QSS, possibly more for the Malzahar ulti, but it wasn't enough to save him there, and they're just getting picks, and that's leading into fights that are so in their favor. And it's insane for the Slowbros that even with some sort of deficit they had in the early game, they're just turning this around.
Yeah, I mean, the Slowbros did a great job for themselves. Kennen now 5-0-8. The Cog War, who is lurking to scale into the late game, he now has 3.5 items. He's 8-2-10 with 200 CS. Drogo's had a fantastic game. C7, I think everyone knows he can land a good few hooks now, and all the players of TSV really pulling their weight in this match, and it shows.
One thing I do want to see a bit more of is Commodore. He did have early lead. He was 4-1 on Jax, but he didn't really do anything onto it. Of course, TSB are playing the peel game extremely well onto Duragai, and because of that slicing maelstrom, it's extremely hard to dive onto anybody without your backline getting just crushed. I'm not sure about the Wit's End onto the Jax. Of course, it does help you survive a bit, but it's more of a dueling potential of a
THB 100, you've been caught out of position, my friend. Forces great health, and the chains of corruption are used to save this Tahm Kench's life. Usually he's the one saving up people's lives. Commodore is here though, forces the fast shot at C7 as Kuki hanging around the side of this fight, and Dragos gets jumped on. The glacial fish is used, and they keep him alive for long. Oh my god, now Dragos survives that, and the slicing motion, it is ginormous. Two people go down. Spooky Molly and Commodore themselves are out of this fight, and now Duragai, they're a red buff Cogmore. He's gonna be doing so much damage as the death sentence lands again. The QSS is used by Infires, though he is able to survive for the time being. However, inhibitor wave coming in from the mid lane. I'm not sure if TSB can survive this for too long. Infires, when we're in the 2 people left remaining, so is THB. As now Dragos, he's only low. Infires gets the kill onto him. However, 4 members still remain from the Slowbros. Kuki taking a lot of tower damage. He's to be careful about this. And now onto the Nexus. Duragai just using his W. He is destroying that thing, and it's going to be game. The Slowbros able to secure the victory in a close 2-1 set with 1 in 5. They advance through the tournament. Congratulations to them.
That was back and forth. Oh my god, Duragai dealing massive amount of damage, and 1 in 5 just don't know who to focus. What are you supposed to do when the Malzahar carry, when the Kennen is running into your backline with a slicing maelstrom, and then Duragai's just melting your front line? It doesn't matter. That comp was executed exactly what they needed it to be, even though we were a bit skeptic in the beginning there. That Kog'Maw really did extremely well paired up with C7's signature, if not classic now, because of these couple of games. His Thresh is insane and can lead to just winning any laning phase, and Duragai and the Kog'Maw doing extremely well. Kuki doing on the Kennen, he played lane exactly what you needed to. Of course, the Jax did have quite a bit of a lead, but everybody just played exactly how they needed to for TSB.
Yeah, that was one heck of a series. Both teams going back and forth. However, as we close out the stream, chat can also answer this question for me myself. But for you, last as the colorcaster here, I'm going to ask you MVP for the whole series, not just this game, the whole series. Who would it be and why?
Wow. Okay. For both teams or just TSB?
Just TSB. Headers
Uh,
of it.
I'm For me, it's definitely in between Pookie and C. They both just initiated so many fights and picks, and they both just switched the focus of 1 and 5 constantly in these fights and took out major players. In the end, though, I think I am going to have to give it to C because of these last two games. Just taking infires out of these fights, leading to so many picks, and the follow up by Dragos and Malzahar and Kog'Maw. I don't think they could have gotten as far without those thresh hooks landing.
Yeah, fantastic play from C7. I can only agree. I think Durga had a good game this time, but the other two games I was questioning him a slight little bit. But C7, I think consistently across the series is proving he was a great player for his team. Also, quick shout out to our fans saying he was supposed to be the weak link for TSB, and I think he did a damn good job this series. So, quick shout out to him. But that will be the end of the stream. Bar some marbles, because everyone loves a good bit of cooldown marbles before we end. But from me and from my good friend Blast, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching, and have a nice one.
things we could be. But baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Yeah, we'll be counting stars. I see this life like a swinging vine. Swing my heart across the line. In my face is flashing signs. Seek it out and ye shall find. Old, but I'm not that old. Young, but I'm not that bold. And I don't think the world is sold. I'm just doing what we're told. I feel something so right, doing the wrong thing. And I feel something so wrong, doing the right thing. I could lie, could lie, could lie. Everything that kills me makes me feel alive. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Hey. I feel your love and I feel it burn down this river every turn. Hope is our four-letter word. Make that money, watch it burn. Old, but I'm not that old. Young, but I'm not that bold. And I don't think the world is sold. I'm just doing what we're told. And I feel something so wrong. We're doing the right thing. I could lie, could lie, could lie. Everything that drowns me makes me wanna fly. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Say no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Say no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Oh, take that money, watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Everything that kills me makes me feel alive. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Lately, I've been losing sleep, dreaming about the things that we could be. Baby, I've been praying hard. Said no more counting dollars, we'll be counting stars. Watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Take that money, watch it burn, sink in the river, the lessons I learned. Well, there's a will, there's a way, kinda beautiful. And every night has a state so magical. And if there's love in this life, there's no obstacle that can't be defeated. tee up all the vulnerable. In every loss, all the bones of a miracle. For every dreamer, a dream were unstoppable. With something to believe in. Monday left me broken. Tuesday I was through with hoping. Wednesday my empty arms were open. Thursday waiting for love, waiting for love. Thank the stars it's Friday. I'm burning like a fire gone wild on Saturday. Guess I won't be coming to church on Sunday. I'll be waiting for love, waiting for love to come around.